Hello, everybody. I hope there's everybody. I hope we'll get more than just a few people. Thank you for coming. Please give me a like if you can. Please give me a chat if you can. Anything and everything you can do to help with the algorithm today is going to be very much appreciated because YouTube really likes it when you stay consistent. Which means that if you try to do anything adventurous, like try a different game, even when City Skylines 2 didn't pan out quite as much as you hoped it to be, or isn't quite finished, however you want to look at it, you know, it's a little scary for a creator like me. So any help you guys can do, I really appreciate it. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I tried to work on the mix. I think I did okay, but let me know if you can hear me okay over the music. I want to leave the music in there because the music is totally part of the atmosphere of Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. And apparently it's very similar to what actually was on the airwaves during the Soviet era. Which, as an American, I find I'm very curious about. Hey, it's B-Ball Joe! By the way, you guys, if you really want to learn how to use this play this game, B-Ball Joe has the best tutorials. I learned so much from him. So definitely, yeah, you totally agree. Nosredna. YouTube is a mess when it comes to truly supporting creators. But yeah, B-Ball Joe. If you guys haven't heard of B-Ball Joe, he does play some City Skylines. You want to check him out for that. But more than anything, you want to check out his Workers and Resources Soviet Republic videos. Now, I want to tell you, B-Ball Joe is not as methodical. He's not as anal retentive, as we say here in the States. He's not as meticulous about things, but he moves fast, and he's a lot of fun to listen to. So definitely take advantage of his videos and his tutorials. He runs some really great tests. He is very methodical about those. And I have benefited a lot from his videos. So definitely go watch B-Ball Joe after this. Right now, stay here because I want to show you guys some things. And I don't know if this is something that B-Ball Joe's actually even done here, because this game has a pretty steep learning curve. It's really it's not the easiest one to learn, but it is rather pretty. It is really challenging. It is a lot of fun, and there's a lot of different ways to play it. And I'm going to show you a little bit of how I played, but not really going to focus on that as much as how I think you should start. If I were me and I wanted to play this game and start learning it, what difficulty level would I play on? What kinds of things would I start out with? What sort of things are going to help to make it a little easier to get into the game? So anyway, first I'm going to show you around. This is paused. I'm going to let it unpause, and hopefully nothing will break that is catastrophic while I'm doing this. Now, this is actually a map that I've been playing on. This is Lyubinsk. I don't know. Everything, by the way, is very Eastern Europe. Everything is in some language that is not easy on an English speaker's tongue. I apologize in advance to anybody who is from Eastern Europe and speaks one of those languages as their first or one of many languages and actually knows how it's supposed to sound. Also, I don't know as much about the history of this part of the world. I mean, to an American, a lot of this is like, we've been propagandized. I was a little bit back when I was a kid, but by the time I was a teenager, roughly, was when the Berlin Wall fell and the Soviet Union fell apart and all that other fun stuff. So a lot of things have changed. Yes, and Conscript David points out that the developers are Slovak. So they're from Slovakia, and that's another thing I will just point out about this game. You're going to notice that there's a lot of things that are very Eastern Europe, including the English translations. They're not perfect. There's a lot of Eastern European developers and just European developers in general, like, Finland is where City Skylines comes from. Colossal Order is Finnish. And you would never know it because most of the time their English is perfect because they probably spend a lot of money on this. This is an early access game from a small independent developer, and they have focused on making this game awesome, making this game fun, making this game challenging. And so it's kind of a quirky side of things, and I'm here to help out as much as I can. There's still some things that are a little bit mysterious to me. And then the other thing, too, is they change. This is an early access game, so they're not done making it yet. They're getting really close. It'll probably launch next year. Could even be early next year, but I'm thinking more like middle to late next year that they will be launching this game. But let me show you around. First off, I want to point out a few of the pieces of infrastructure. I'm hiding the user interface right now. They have cableways and like real honest-to-God cable cars are in this game, and you shuttle your workers like this is a mine up here. I forget, actually there's a couple of mines. And the other thing that's kind of cool is there's a bridge, and you can see the workers working their way up as they get off the cableway station. And they're on their way to work in the mines. I got iron and coal mines up there. And over here I've got gravel quarries where we've got excavators and dump trucks working on mining some gravel out of the ground, putting it in this loader, which is taking it over to a conveyor to a storage unit, which then pushes it over another conveyor and down the hill into a gravel processing plant and into another gravel storage, which can be loaded onto a train. You know what? I'm going to unhide the UI. It'd be a little easier if I can point to this stuff. So there's the gravel processing plant. There's the loader, the storage, and there's the loader. And then we've got coal. And that comes down from one of these mines. Let's see here. Which one is it? Is it the coal mine? Yeah, it's the coal mine. That comes down here into a storage where it's got coal ore. Then that's processed here in the processing plant and then sent off over here. These both share a loader over here. And then this is a distribution office where trains are able to go in there and, assemble a few cars and then go pick up some gravel or coal, whatever it is. Over here is a steel mill, and it's actually a steel mill. Almost all of these buildings, from what I understand, are actually modeled off of real buildings that were in the Eastern Bloc countries somewhere. Not necessarily Russia or even the Soviet Union, but sometimes Poland, Slovakia, Czechia, a lot of different places, a lot of different countries that were not even part of the Soviet Union, even East Germany. There's a lot of things. And actually, Vibaljo has some great experience because he actually, knows, what this stuff looks like. He's like, oh yeah, this reminds me of back in Germany. So that also makes him a lot of fun to listen to when he shares these experiences. Here goes a train. And it is going to go pick up some steel and take it to... Oh, it's just going to load it over here. Yeah, so I've got other factories over here. This is a train railway production plant. These are vehicle production lines, so auto assembly plants basically. And another distribution office, another rail depot. These guys are going over here, probably moving some mechanical components and some plastics around over here, because this is all that's a mechanical components factory. We've got electronics assembly halls, electronics components factories. There's all sorts of fun industrial things, and some of them look really, really dirty, like the steel mill right here. And some of them look really, really squeaky clean, for good reasons, like these auto plants and these electronics assembly plants and things like that. And I've got some different warehouses laying around here. I've got part of a highway building right here. It's obviously ends right there. And the rail infrastructure, the trains in this game are really super cool. There's not as much going on there, but there's always a lot going on over here in the middle of Lyubinsk, the capital city here in our republic. And there's always trains coming in here. So you actually build cities in this. Now, this is a pre-populated map. Excuse me. I'm going to show you how to start out on an unpopulated map in a bit here, but this pre-populated map came with most of this city already built and occupied. It has been rebuilt and modernized because it looked, I think over here you can get an idea. This has actually been, oh, I guess there are some people still living over here. Excuse me, cough is not going away. So, this is basically what a lot of that city looked like to begin with. Give me a second here. I gotta take a drink. Hopefully that will help. But anyway, this city looked very much like this. It does not come with any shops. It might have some churches, which are handy for different reasons. We'll explain in a bit, hopefully. But any of the stuff that stands out as modern to you, well, that was added by me, including the roads. I added some footpaths. This is a store. So, I mean, there's not even stores in the pre-populated cities because things were, you know, kind of a mess is what they're assuming. And so you're here to modernize it. Wow, I'm really sorry, guys. I'll just type subtitles out and you can read them. Okay, I'm going to try to power through this. Hopefully I'll get better. But like these are university dormitories. That's a university. A school. The train station. And you can kind of tell that I've shoehorned some of this in. A lot of this infrastructure was not here originally, so it had to be added. And you can reveal terrain lines and see that I had to dig this in. I thought I'd try to keep as much of it as I could underground. That way I could disrupt less of the city and keep the grid together, which is something that American cities really kind of suck at because we build highways right through the middle and we just bulldoze all of it. In keeping with that, I did build a highway, but it's on the edge. It's a bypass. I don't know that I ever intended on expanding this town, but if I did, I have, you know, some infrastructure built around the outside that will keep it connected. Over here, I'm working on retrofitting this old part, Lomonovas, and I'm probably going to say these really wrong. I really apologize to anybody from this part of the world. I'm doing the best I can with my American accent. So, anyway, you can build some highways in here. It's not anywhere near as advanced as City Skylines, but I feel like the trains, the amazingness of the trains really makes up for it. And the other infrastructure, like right here, this is a big, looks like a gravel train heading out. Oh, and this is another thing that's kind of cool that you can do with this game. Give me a second here. Follow this vehicle. You can follow it. It has a dynamic follow mode, which will just sort of follow along it right here. And I hope you guys can still hear me. Let me know, please. And then you can go to first person view and you can see everything go by. This is a newer, more modern city that I've built on the map here that we're going to go through. But it's a lot of fun to be able to go through all that infrastructure. Anyway, yeah. So over here we've got an area where it's food factories with grain, distribution and things like that. Right here, there's a train delivering some more crops to this storage so that the food factories can keep producing food. That's probably all been imported. Actually, I can tell you if it's been imported. Yeah, right here. It came from the customs house. And then we've got some trucks and stuff all here so that they can manage deliveries. We've got a railroad station here that takes in workers. And I think there's even a tram station. Nope, actually, I don't think the tram does deliver workers here. I think it's just all train. So, yeah, I mean, public transportation is very much a thing. And a lot of stuff you want to do by train, it's just so much easier to handle it. But it doesn't have to all be by train because sometimes you can use ships. Ships are super cool in this game. And actually were kind of the key to being able to make this map work because of the way I started it. So we'll get into some of the differences. You got to build power plants. This has got a sewer plant in it too. There's a lot of mods you're going to notice in here if you're used to playing this game. But one of the I think one of the coolest aspects of this game and makes it much more challenging really is that you have construction in this game. You don't have that in City Skylines. Things just magically appear. Uh-oh. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to turn the UI down a little bit. Thanks, B-Ball Joe. I'm going to turn this UI down just a tad. Yeah, everything will be kind of even now. So hopefully you'll be able to hear me. I might have to turn my volume up, though, here. So I can hear everything else, including me. Oh, you know what? I forgot my mic. You're going to hear it as I fiddle around to try to find the volume control. I'm going to keep talking to me. Yeah, I think I can hear okay. Okay, so construction is a big part of this game. And as you can see, there's all sorts of nifty trucks and cranes. We've got cement trucks, flatbeds. These are tower cranes right here. Excavators. So unlike pretty much any city builder I've ever seen, you actually build things in this game, and you need a bulldozer or an excavator, and you got to have the resources delivered, and you got to have the workers brought in order for that to happen. And you've got different buildings that handle some of that, like this here. You might have guessed if you've seen these before, because they do exist all over the world. An asphalt plant where you send the truck to pick up asphalt and then take it off to pave a road. This here is a concrete plant. It's a concrete storage silo, and so on and so forth. And you've got to deal with fuel infrastructure and everything too. Like here's a gas power plant. This is an oil refinery that's got a fair number of workers here. And we've got oil storage, fuel storage, bitumen storage. Bitumen is used to make tar. Is the tar and used to make asphalt with the gravel. So there's all sorts of different aspects of this game, and it's a lot of fun. Like you even have farms, and people got to wear clothes, so of course you got to make fabric, and that is made out of crops over here. And you can do some detailing in this game. I'm not, as you know from watching my City Skylines videos, the most expert detailer there is, but I tried to have a little fun with it here, at least in this spot. Some of my towns are more decorated than others. I did do this one. Oh yeah, and another aspect is heating. You need heat. Not in this time of year because it is 13. That's actually kind of chilly for April. I'm starting to learn what is a reasonably comfort temperature in Celsius because of this game, because you can't really switch it to Fahrenheit very easily that I know. Plus everything is just naturally in meters in this game, as most games are, especially if they're not made in America. And it seems like it's been a while since Electronic Arts has made one that I really felt compelled I had to play. Hint, hint. So anyway, it's really easy with the metric system. It's not a big deal. You don't really notice it after a while, but it does make it a little useful to know how warm certain temperatures are, and how cold they are. So without any, let me check the chat here and see what kinds of things you got to say. I'm going to give you a little bit of view. The customs house is usually pretty busy, and so is this town. Oh yeah, you got buses and everything like that too. And there's police. Like there's one of the courthouses. Actually, no, I never did build. Oh yeah, I did. I have a bigger courthouse in another town. That's right. I've played this map a couple of different times. I really like this map, and I really recommend this map. It's linked in the description. I did add it at the 11th hour right before the live stream. But I'll leave you with this, and I might even speed things up just a bit just so that more things are happening while I check the chat, which hopefully I can do without disrupting the live stream. Well, that's not going to be real easy. By the way, I do not mind one bit if you at me. Obviously, super chats are a really great way to get a hold of me too while we're streaming here. So I'm going to switch over really quick, which is going to kind of mess this game up a little bit. But hopefully I'll be able to come back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Okay. Oh, Nasredna, you are caught up on Bibaljo series. I wish I was. I'm still working on it. I think I'm around episode 50, 55, somewhere in there. And he's got about 70 episodes going here. So his latest series is actually a really great... he doesn't... When he runs into problems, he doesn't just say, oh, well, I'll just load from a save. No. He actually has some pretty serious stuff happen, and he has been able to battle back, which I find really useful because it helps understand what kinds of problems and what kinds of solutions are really available out there. Let's see here. Yeah, the visuals really are nice. What is it? The Gamer Guy. Yes, I agree with you. A lot of people say, oh, it looks so dark and dystopic, and honestly, the concrete isn't always the prettiest thing in the world to look at, but it's really not so bad. And it looks realistic. I mean, when you see, like if you watch some videos, people will explain, here's how things worked in the Soviet era, and here's how things work now. I forget who it was. If it was Acroas. I have no idea if I say his name right either. I've watched a bunch of his videos, but I have no idea how he says his channel name. But he actually lived in the Eastern Bloc, and he has a lot of experiences. That's another channel I highly recommend if you want to learn about the Soviet era. He's got a City Skylines 1 series that he is actually reproducing a lot of the things. But I look at it and I'm like, man, it is just like the game. And as I've gone through and I've watched some of those videos from creators like him and City Skylines, I inevitably end up with some other creators who aren't even playing about, we're dealing with games. They're just talking about urban planning issues, and things like that happen with the, Soviet era urban planning. There's a lot of good and a lot of bad, just like here in the West. We have urban sprawl. Well, the Soviets, they had some urban sprawl too, but it was a whole other variety. And, they had some of their own advantages and drawbacks to the way they built housing and expanded their cities that the Americans didn't have, but the Americans had all sorts of other disadvantages that we're still dealing with. And, so it's not really like a perfect way to do things, but it'd be great if we could all learn from each other and just do what we figure out is the best. But, you do have a lot of prefabricated construction. This is something that hasn't really been utilized that much in the United States. And, it was something that came about as, the Soviets needed to construct more housing and more buildings. And so they decided, well, hey, let's prefabricate the pieces and put them all together on site. And that's why you have so many buildings that are just very cookie cutter. They really literally are cookie cutter. They're made out of these prefabricated panels and then assembled over and over and over again to make lots and lots of housing blocks. And that's how, one of the ways that in a lot of cities at least, they had ample housing in certain parts of the Eastern Bloc countries. Now we listen to Acroas. He explains what his situation was in his part of the world, and it wasn't quite as easy for him. I don't think he was in the Soviet Union. I can't remember if he was in Poland or somebody correct me. Don't let me know if I'm wrong. But anyway, there's a lot of really interesting stuff. I'm still learning a ton about it. Go watch those channels. Acroas, he's a City Skylines creator. You're gonna like what he has to share. I would love to see him play this game because he'd probably talk about a lot of that stuff. And share some of his experiences like Bibaljo does, who spent some time in East Germany. Let's see here. So, a proper industrial area with a production chain. Yes, it is. Constrip game. I have this game, but every time I load it up, I feel overwhelmed. Okay, so hopefully stay at home gamer. And it's going to be a whole lot easier if I can have some idea of what your feedback is before I get into the actually making regular videos here. I need to scroll my chat. Let's see here. So the military and the security aspect is also engaging. Yeah, that's another thing that's really unique about this. Like this here is a smaller secret police. And what they do is they run around in cars, these little cars, and they put in listening devices, and they monitor the citizens and decide, well, how loyal are they? I don't know if in real life, I think they probably did more than that. But basically they set up, they decide how loyal everybody is, and you can see there's government loyalty here. I have television station and radio in this republic. So, everybody's got a list of all of their aspects. Like, here we've got, man, I can't even pronounce most of these names. I'm Dominica. I could say that one. Manyanica. I'm not even going to try. Okay, so he's 46. He'll probably live to be 87. His productivity is really high at 120%. This is the highest difficulty level, so that's pretty good. It tells where he lives. You can go there. He's got a couple of kids. He's working a shift right now at the police station. That means he's got to have an education. If you look at his education level, he's 2.6. That's pretty high. And it'll show what his current demands are, and that those have actually been met in his free time. He was able to get enough food. He was able to find some culture, go to the cinema and watch a movie or something like that. And now he's done working his shift, and he's going to start his free time, and he's going to have to take care of his food. Obviously, you got to eat every day, and he's going to want to play some sports. And there's different ways you can fulfill that. You've got indoor pools. I think I mainly have indoor pools in here. I don't think that in this city, this is a starter city. I just had to get my republic off the ground. They don't have quite as sophisticated number of options. But if you want different options, you can jump on the train and maybe go to the next town, and they do, which is a nice thing about being developed out. Now he's had time, and he's gone and gotten some food, and now he's going to the indoor pool. He's hanging out there. He's having a good time. Now he's going to go back and he's going to watch state-run television. And the state-run television, that's a whole other ball game. That's a fun little ball of wax right there, because unlike in City Skylines, in order to make them happy, sometimes you have to propagandize them. But there's other things you can do with the radio and TV too. But pumping that loyalty number up here has some advantages, because after you watch the TV, well, now he's 121% productive instead of just 120% productive. He's a little bit more loyal. But you can see his health. You can see what kind of electronics he's got. He's got a radio, a TV, and a computer. Sadly, I don't think they've developed a whole lot with a computer yet in this. Computers, strangely enough, in the 1980s were not really a big part of Soviet life or even Soviet management, really. There's sort of a plaything that nobody really got to mess around with. I don't think. Although I could be a little wrong on that. Please correct me wrong. There's a lot of propaganda on this side of the pond in real life that makes it so it's really hard for an American to really know what Soviet life was actually like, unless you're talking to a Soviet who was there and giving it to you honest. Anyway, the thing is we've got alcohol addiction. He's not really that big on alcohol. He's happy. He's 95% happy. He's fed plenty well. Gets his cultural and his sports needs met. This is a really well-run city. He's got 100% of his clothing needs met. He's so 1% criminality. That's probably not what I want to see. Anyway, those are the kinds of things. He's only got 4% religious sympathy. There's a whole lot of different things that. That's weird. He's only got a radio. His TV and his computer must have broke. Or who knows, maybe he was a victim of crime and they were stolen. I have no idea. Anyway, the communist economy is also a little different. That's very different from City Skylines. But anyway, you get the idea. There's a lot of different things that you can do there with the citizens. It's kind of cool. Let me scroll my thing here. The fact that everything has to be built over time gives everything you do a sense of history. Yes, that is true. Yeah, I know, the game pauses. It's really annoying. I wish I could scroll this and find everything meaningful in here. Are you ever going to go back to some of your other series? Will Settlagi ever be finished? No city is ever finished in real life, but yeah, I do intend to go back there. I've actually got a couple of things in the can for this. Hopefully these trains start moving again. It looks like we're getting refilled on more crops. Yes, we are, because it is spring and I don't have enough farm production and I have tons of food production, so it's importing crops to help. Oh great, an electricity problem. Where is this? A water pumping station is not getting enough electricity. That could be bad. But I bet this thing is full. Oh, it is not. That's not good. I don't know what to think about that. Well, things aren't great in Cernakova. I need to fix that at some point. Oh well, I am not going to deal with it right now. I'm just going to show you guys around. Yeah. So let's see here. Tropico has construction, but it's simplified. So does the Settlers series. This is the most simplified. Yes, I agree. Conscript David. But yeah, Dan Pohl, to go back to you about Settlagi, we will go back to that. I definitely think there is some high interest in that. The next few videos I have on that actually will be very pertinent to both City Skylines 1 and City Skylines 2. There really hasn't been a lot of fundamental changes to the game as far as how things work, so that it's not like the principles won't transfer, which is great. And honestly, they'll transfer into this game too in a lot of ways, although traffic is less of an issue unless you play like Bibaljo and you build a bunch of distribution offices in one spot and create a bottleneck, which is kind of a fun thing to solve, I grant you, as long as your city doesn't die, which thankfully didn't happen to Bibaljo, but it got close. Got to get the food rolling, and that's one of the things. That's another thing that's really different, makes me think about with City Skylines versus Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. In City Skylines, you basically zone commercial, you zone residential. People move in, people, start businesses and set up shop. And if your citizens need more food, well, then they just go, they bring in another food shop, and then, hey, what do you know? They handle all that bringing stuff in, and the trucks just automatically do their thing in City Skylines. There's no micromanagement, nothing like that whatsoever. Whereas in Workers and Resources, since it's communism and it's a planned economy and you are literally the dictator, you have a lot more responsibility. Like in this city, I have to make sure that my citizens stay fed. And this is part of the reason why people say this is overwhelming. We'll show you some tricks that'll make it a little less overwhelming and highly unlikely that your citizens will die because of starvation or escape. Which is another problem. But this is a grocery store. There's 2 grocery stores in this town, one on each side of town. They're not overwhelmed, thankfully. I am having that problem in another map I'm playing currently. Actually, no, that's the store. This is the other grocery. So there's a store. This has got clothes and electronics in it. This is a grocery store with food and meat. This is another grocery store with food and meat. Now, why is it those are so full? Well, that's because of the way they have this set up. Basically, these trucks go to the warehouse, and you can see it. It goes to the warehouse and loads, and it comes here and it unloads. And when it unloads, it waits until it's 100% unloaded. So when this truck runs out of its 3.5 tons roughly of food remaining, it will go back to the warehouse and replenish. Meanwhile, this building will be completely full that entire time, so he's got plenty of time to get back before that runs out. The same is true with the meat truck. This is all connected with a factory connection. And yes, this is a mod. But you can do this with a loading station if you want to. It just takes up way more room. And you can kind of get away with it at the building itself, but there's only one loading dock, as you can see right here. So that's not ideal because, if the police or the fire department or ambulances or anything are ever needed there, I don't think ambulances are ever really a big thing there, but because those usually go to the housing, unlike in City Skylines. So, there's a lot going on with that one loading dock, you kind of want to leave that open there and try to use a factory connection to solve the problem. Either connecting it directly to a warehouse or connecting it to an unloading station where the truck can come by and kind of be a de facto warehouse. Like this truck here is about out of meat. It has less than a ton left. It's still going to take a while to run out because it's not going to run out that fast with just a handful of shoppers going in there. Yeah, no, it's getting used a little bit more. But that truck will go and it'll come back and we'll be good. This one here doesn't ever really run out fast enough for me to have to worry about it. So I have a distribution office and it has a whole bunch of trucks that hang out, and whenever they're needed, they go out to deliver to these places. They deliver to the prison, they deliver to the bar, things like that. And you set all that up and what percentages you want it to trigger a truck going out and making a delivery. So there's a lot of details in here, but there are ways of making the details much more simple so that you can actually get the knack of the rest of the game. So that food truck is empty and it is moving out, and this meat truck is going to be empty pretty soon too. So we'll get to see it take off and head to the warehouse. We can actually follow that. Whoops, and I'm going to move this so it's not in the way. So planning is a really big deal. Logistics are a really big deal. There are shortcuts that you can use, especially if you're not playing in realistic mode, which I am at this game. So realistic mode, you have more demands on yourself as a dictator in order to keep your citizens alive and functioning and your economy going. And I obviously do have something going on because there's some happiness taking a dip. I have a lot of crime problems, I think, in Lyubinsk. I probably have some place that's not covered by a police station, which is going to be a real bummer. At some point, it's going to come back and bite me. So let's see here. What else we got going on in the chat? Depleting money not being addressed. Made for great watching. Yes. The beginning, B-Ball Joe's latest series. It's really a lot of fun to see how he handles all this stuff, and his reactions are always fun too. He's really he's done very well at managing coming back from some serious money problems at the beginning several times over, and then finding out that an industry that he thought was going to work out and bring him a lot of money didn't bring it to him the way he thought it was, but that's okay. He was still going to make a lot of money the other way. Then the other thing too is he has, you'll find in the most uncomfortable ways that your republic has a single point of failure. It's an awful revelation. I have had it happen to me many times. And I remember having the story told to me by the elf, which hopefully you're here somewhere. But the elf, he actually got me into this game, and B-Ball Joe kept me in this game. But he told, if you have a bus that runs out of fuel, then they don't get to your heating plant. And if they don't get to your heating plant, then you don't have heat. And if you don't have heat, everybody dies. I'm like, what? Yeah, and it was all because I didn't have fuel at this fuel station. I'm like, what? That's crazy. That's exactly what happened. I actually had a game recently where I had a tram. And that tram went in for maintenance. The latest edition of this game actually has vehicle and building maintenance. And if you don't do it, then, if you set it automatically, sometimes it'll just automatically go in. Well, I had one tram that was running up and down a rail line in order to keep my my power plant on. And it was working really well. Just one tram. I was using a little hack to keep workers there all the time, so I didn't have to run more trams, because trams are expensive when you're not having a whole lot of money coming in. What happened is the tram went in for maintenance, and then I suddenly was having power failures. And I'm like, what is going on? What is going on? And it takes a long time to get a tram out to where I was, because that power plant was pretty far out. And so there were problems. But thankfully I could import electricity. I caught it in time, but it was just weird, really weird to be working and at night, all of a sudden the lights all go out. I'm like, what is going on? So this game has a way of explaining to you that you didn't think something through in some painful ways, but fun and challenging ways at the same time. And if you're trying to do this all at once and you're trying to learn the game at the same time, it is really overwhelming. So B-Ball Joe is actually really good at managing all of that stuff. I am continually impressed with some of the things he does and how he pulls himself out in ways I wasn't expecting. He's been playing this game for a long time, though, so you can learn a lot from watching him. He makes a lot of interesting mistakes. I try to plan my way around it, and I still make mistakes. What are you going to do? It's a hard game, and that's what's fun about it. So it's not how you avoid the problems necessarily as much as how you learn that you need to avoid the problems because you had to dig your way out. Altengrad. I think Altengrad is the name of Akruis's series where he's doing the Soviet stuff. Let's see here. Me and my mom are so glad the era is over, and yet nostalgia remains. Yeah, it's really weird how that works, isn't it? Conscript David. Tav says, well, we still have these buildings in Poland 60 years. Some of them are still strong. Yeah, I believe that. I mean, these things look like they were built like rocks, and from everything I've seen, it seems like that's the case. I'm going to take us over to a different area so we can watch some stuff going on. Let me see. Yeah, let's go into the city. The city is definitely busy. A lot going on over here. Actually, there's trolley buses over here. That's another thing in this game that City Skylines implemented that, but I've not seen it used real heavily, and that's for good reasons. Why would we use trolley buses? There's really not very many places, at least in the U.S., where they even had them to begin with. We had trams. We still have some of those, streetcars. We have trains. We have buses, but we don't really have trolley buses too much, unless you go to San Francisco. And I thought that there was another place. For some reason, I'm thinking Dayton, Ohio has them too, but I could be wrong. I don't remember. I haven't spent a lot of time in Dayton, even though I'm from Ohio, but that's like 3 hours away. So anyway, yeah, you got a boat here that's bringing passengers in, I hope, and dropping them off at the, that's not good. That doesn't look like there's a whole lot of passenger traffic coming in through here. That's kind of worrying me. I don't know what I have broken, but it's supposed to be bringing tourists in, but I don't see any. Uh-oh. I wonder what else is broken that I didn't know about. Anyway, so you have ships that come in and they'll bring the tourists well, let's see what train is waiting too long. Give me a second. I'll get back to that time to... Oh, crap. This is really bad. How did this happen? This is bad. You're going to go home and make room. What in the world? That is because I did not anticipate having so many trains coming in here. Now, if this one wants to go back out and he wants to go that way, he's stuck. Why is this one stuck here? Okay, because that one didn't get out. Oh, that's really bad. Somebody's going to die. Because this logistics operation is pretty good, but it's not perfect, obviously. So right here, I made a mistake where a train could get stuck and it can't get in and out of this distribution office and it can't get away from the station in order to get on the track to go deliver to a warehouse. So these warehouses are probably running a little dry. Hopefully I don't have it set to run very long trains through here. Let me see what's going on over here. This is my other warehouse over here, and this is another fun potential failure point. Yeah, that got close to running out because that brought 138 tons of food, and this is less than 130 tons. So this probably ran out, especially with the number of trucks queuing up to go in there. And then I've got another train bringing alcohol and meat, which means I'm probably about out of meat. Yep. Whew, that's a traffic jam there. That is not something I want to see in my biggest city. I really need another distribution point, which I'll probably build over here at some point, but I haven't gotten anywhere close to that. But this one warehouse is obviously not anywhere near enough capacity for what I need to do in this town. Because I mean, it's huge. This is a pretty big city. I couldn't tell you how big off the top of my head, but before I would ever introduce people living over here again, I'm going to have to make sure that there's another distribution hub, because this one's already pretty well overwhelmed. Okay, so back to the chat. The reality is Soviet life is, a bit far from the ideals of Soviet planning. Yes, well, the American dream is very far off from Americans as well, as the Soviet dream was away from Soviets. Let's see here. Czechoslovakia was on the neater part of the Warsaw Pact. See, there's a lot of stuff I just don't know. Yeah, I think like might have been Asianometry was the video that I saw. Now I'm going to go scroll down on the chat because I'm way behind, and I'm probably going to see a million things that people said, oh, that's wrong. That's wrong. What are you talking about? Soviet Union did lag on computers. Conscript David says, Gergely Varju, in 1980s, we had some computers in the Eastern Bloc. In the 1980s, computers were pretty much only in like universities and only big ones, at least in Poland. The Soviet bloc had a bad start and just continued lagging for a while. Yeah, that's one of those things too where it moves so fast, because I have worked in IT a lot in my life, and it's going to really scroll. I've worked in IT a lot in my life, and it is one of those things where, like I remember back in the 90s, it was like, wow, this just like changes. When I was in the early 90s, I was thinking, wow, this changes like every month, which I thought was a lot. But then I started working in the business, and I'm like, man, this changes like every day. Nowadays, it changes even faster than that. What does Chat GPT learn to do now? So there's always some new thing coming out, and if you're in an industry like that, you get behind on an industry like that that's moving that fast, and then you're kind of embargoed from trading for it. It's really going to be tough to come back from. Yes, Nosredna the 13th says, I do enjoy this game quite a bit. Love the realistic mode. I do too. Gergely says, Hungary had more freedom than most other Eastern Bloc countries, and some of us had friends and family in the West. We had computers, but we didn't really have game consoles. Yeah, the Atari and the Pac-Man and Space Invaders. That's pretty cool stuff we had here in the 80s. In the States, and I'm too young to really remember like Pong or anything in the 70s. While Soviet bloc lagged behind in business use of computers, we had our own home computer designs too. See Videoton TV computer, and it was seen as entertainment stuff. First console was Pegasus in the early 1990s. Computers, I think Amigas started like mid-1980s, but that would be quite an expensive thing to have. Yeah, I imagine a lot of this had to be imported from the U.S. and Western Europe and things like that. Obviously, things have changed quite a lot, because it's not like the Russian Federation or anything really seems to be super behind on anything anymore. It seems like a lot of the world is pretty well on the same page. In a lot of ways, some nations may be better at developing the tech faster in certain circumstances or in different ways, but it's not too bad. See, I'm getting too many criminals here. B-Ball Joe, I might have to have you look at my crime. Crime is it's a hard thing in this game to fix, and it's making me think about revising one of my recommendations I'm going to get into. Let me try to burn through this chat a little bit faster here. I'm going to have to switch windows yet again, and I really hate that it doesn't do like City Skylines here. Let's see here. In my opinion, WRSR is the best city builder of this generation. CS2 doesn't come close. Crossrider Bankai said that. There are certain things about City Skylines 2 I would love. Even City Skylines 1 that I would love to have in this game, especially with the terrain, because I am really, really meticulous about that, and this game is not. Except for in the most annoying ways. So yeah, I don't know. There's different things I wish that I could have in both things in the same city builder. I think the traffic simulation in City Skylines is a little bit better, even in the first one. But hey, if you don't overwhelm this one's pretty good. I can't complain. Wouldn't mind having some TMPE style things in this game occasionally. I think B-Ball Joe would probably agree there, because you can really get a lot more out of the game when you can assign lanes in turn lanes and things like that, because the AI in this game sometimes is a little weird. But then there's a lot of things it does is like, oh, hey, that makes sense. I don't know if I can really show that to you, but yeah, it'd be kind of hard to find a case to show it right now off the top of my head. But then there's other things that it does, and it's like, why is that train stuck there? I can't believe that train is stuck. Why is it stuck? And it won't do anything. It'll just sit there and be like, well, I can't go. And then a city dies because a food delivery does not get through because of one stupid one-car train. It's dumb. Anyway, enough pontificating on that. Gurgly says, and I'm probably really butchering your name. I really apologize. I remember that when I got my first PC compatible, the custom officer decided it probably isn't valuable as he didn't recognize the brand name and it was used. Yet a PC compatible with EGA was far more valuable than the computers he would recognize as most just imported Commodore 64s and Commodore 16s, ZX Spectrums, etc. Yeah, that's a really a great point. I mean, yeah, that's the thing is, even in the 80s, I remember people would tell me as a kid, it's like, oh, it's just a toy. It's not just a toy. These things are everywhere. And I knew they were going to be everywhere. I didn't exactly know how to apply the technology, but I knew it would apply even when I was 8. So I was right. They were wrong. They all had to learn how to use computers, unless they were like my grandparents' age, in which case they're no longer with us and we miss them. But anyway, yeah, computers are a thing, and they're just accepted now. But back in the 80s, it's like, they're toys. I spend more time working because of the computer than I do actually getting my job done. And I don't know if that's always true. In some cases, it might have been because of poorly implemented or poorly designed software. But yeah, anyway. Conscript David says, there is a great video on how the GDR, German Democratic Republic, by the way, that's East Germany, if I remember right, tried to have its own computer electronics industry, trying to smuggle tech to copy and examine. I think I have seen some stuff about that. I got to look into that more. It's really cool learning about all this stuff. I love the cloak and dagger espionage stuff, even though sometimes it's a little creepy. He also, and Jordan Hale, good afternoon. Thank you. Conscript David, sorry if I fell asleep midstream. Yes, I understand. It is about 5 o'clock p.m. My wife will probably be home and not too long. And we're going to have a great time tonight with friends, so that'll be fun. But I'm going to be with you guys, and I understand that some people are in different parts of the world, and it is very, very late or very, very early. So we're happy to have you here. I'm happy to have you here. It's great. Hey, Russell White is here from Mansfield, Ohio. I see OH, and I got to go IO. Thanks for joining the stream. Glad to have you here. Gergely, there's trolley buses in San Francisco. Yes. Now I know how far behind I am on the chat. So let's see here. Trying to scroll down. Okay, hey, looks like I'm going to catch up here. What's your plan for today's stream? Okay, B-Ball Joe, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to start a game here in a second and try to pick some difficulty settings that I think I would recommend for somebody new who wants a challenge but doesn't want it to be so overwhelming. And identify a few things that you're going to want to do in order to have a better experience with this game. Toph says, I was thinking, why would trolley buses be a thing in a Soviet bloc? I figured it was probably because fuel was expensive, but electricity you could easily make from cheap coal. Yes, and I think that you are correct, but I can't say authoritatively that you are, because I don't really know enough about it. But yeah, I would imagine it probably had to do with the availability of oil, or the fact that they really wanted to sell it to somewhere like the United States or Western Europe, because they couldn't get enough of it. And it's very profitable. Conscript David says, this is a very cozy stream. Famously, someone said the washing machine was more influential than the internet. Statements that didn't age well. Well, back in the day, maybe that was true, but washing machines are pretty great. So are dishwashers, but It's hard to say that the internet didn't have a pretty significant impact on Hungary. It's 11. Yes, it's the elf. Oh, Gurley, you're the elf. Okay, I am talking to you the whole time and not realizing who you are. And I hope I'm saying your name right. If at some point you get a chance to correct me, please let me hear your name, maybe on Discord or something. Nosredna says, well, I need alert, might be back later. Okay, thanks for coming. I really appreciate you being here. We don't have a huge number in here. So by the way, just a reminder, like that, hit that like button if you can. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start talking about some of the nitty gritty with this game. We're going to go to the menu and I'm going to show you some recommendations I have for if you want to get started in Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. And hopefully I don't have to run over and turn my light on because it is getting dark here mighty early these days as we get close to the winter solstice. Okay, so first off, that map I was using is the Lyubinsk map. So we're going to actually start a new game and we're going to use, that was the inhabited version of it. Or the populated version, I guess you could say. We're going to use the unpopulated version. This is the populated one right here. This is on the Steam Workshop. I linked it in the description. We're going to go with this uninhabited one or unpopulated one because I think it's a really good beginner map. It's got a lot of resources all over the map in plenty. So it's not like you have to worry about building on your only source of uranium because, you know, you're not going to find any more and that's your biggest city and you can't just move it or start polluting in the middle of it because pollution is definitely a thing in this game. So we're not going to go with easy settings or very easy. Very easy basically turns everything off and nerfs it all. I don't think that that's really a great idea. Realistic in the other extreme here though, you get hard money, which hard money gives you 1.2 million rubles and $600,000. So basically, you might have noticed that there were red stars and blue stars on the border. The red stars are for Soviet allied countries, and the blue stars are for NATO allied countries. So part of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, like the United States and Western Europe and things like that. At least the old NATO, not what's currently NATO. NATO has expanded drastically since then. Which is basically something to contain the spread of communism or the spread of, more nations allying with the Soviet Union and adopting communism or trying to. That's a whole other political ball of wax that's, let's just say, complicated, and we're not going to get too deep into this, even though it's pretty interesting. There's other channels you can check that out on. So, I'm thinking though that realistic, you're not going to get a lot of money. You have to deal with, citizens that are more cantankerous. This is unsatisfied citizens reaction. If citizens don't get what they need, they will react very negatively. They will be cross. If they don't get what they need, they'll just be grumpy if there's small reactions. So, I don't think that that's really a great way to go. Also, energy management, building these vehicles, I don't think that's too bad. Water management, that can be complicated. Same with waste. And then demolition is even more complicated yet. So if you make a mistake or you decide to change something, it's a real pain when you have demolition turned on. Maintenance is also a thing that I'm not really a big, that is also very complicated. And you can be playing for years, and if you play like a turtle like I do sometimes, you're like, man, that truck is 30 years old. All my tractors are 30 years old and breaking down constantly. This is not good. So that can really hurt you. Seasons, leave that enabled. That's a good challenge. Building fires can be annoying, so you might want to tone that down. Global events, I don't know. I don't really feel like those are super impactful. Maybe other people will disagree. Pollution, disable, enable. I don't think that's a really bad challenge to have turned on. Education, definitely go with complex. Simple isn't that big of a change. Crime and justice, that one I might have to go with. I might have to change my mind on that one. That one's kind of complicated. And traffic simulation, definitely go with complex. I don't see any reason not to. researches or tech. That's your tech tree, basically. I think go with enable. That's a good challenge to have. It's not super hard, but I don't know. Maybe it is too easy. And then this is all kind of a matter of preference here with the night and day cycle. If you want to be able to see it in the daytime all the time, then don't do always day. If you want a moving sun where you have a night cycle, then definitely do that. I don't know if there's a way to turn the weather on and off. I can't remember. If you turn it on always day, I don't think it ever rains. And then I always like to start in 1960, but this is all really a matter of preference. Vehicles availability, again, preference. But don't go with realistic mode. This is way harder than it needs to be. Let's go with medium. Now, easy money is, let's see here. I've got easy money is 10 million rubles and $2 million. Medium money is 4 million rubles and $1.3 million. So it's, you kind of make your own choice there. If you find it's really hard, other cheats, you can add more money if you need to. But I think medium. We'll start with that. We don't want realistic mode on. We're going to change the citizens' reaction. I'm happy with them being medium. Buildings, I'm going to turn that on to a harder level to buildings and vehicles. We're going to leave water and waste management and maintenance off, seasons on. I'm going to tone the building fires down to normal just so they're not too crazy, because it can be really tough to get an area established. And if you're worried about it burning down constantly, ask Baljo about that. It was really tough for him. That was another thing I was interested to see how he dug his way out, because that's a really big problem, especially when you have building maintenance turned on. That's really tough. Pollution, we're good. Education, complex, crime and justice. I'm going to go with disable. It's not impossible to play with this, but if you build an industrial area and it is not covered by your police force, which is very, very realistic because of the pollution, you're trying to keep it away from your citizens where they live, this is probably going to make things a lot easier. So we're going to go with disable on that. We're going to make complex traffic simulation because in some ways I think it might make it easier. I'm going to leave research on. I'm going to go with always day right now, but definitely the night cycle is actually pretty nice. It's not, it's definitely not as, it's very balanced. And even when it rains, you don't mind. It's not a big deal. Year of start, we're going to go with 1960. So these are going to be our settings. So take a screenshot of that if you need to. And then we're going to load in. And I'm going to go over a few things here to start off. So your menu. Here's how many dollars you've got. And you're going to want to watch this. We're going to go back to this to see how you're doing financially. That's the date. These are the speeds. There's basically two speeds. There's normal and faster. There's other speeds that are hidden, but there are caveats with that. We're not going to cover that in here right now. Baljo probably has a video about it. So take a look at that. And then this is going to break down our demographics and show, I think it's that's your population. This is employment levels, health, happiness. We'll get into more of that as we have a population to actually see. Now, infrastructure, there's a lot of options for infrastructure, and they're all up here in this thing here. Some of the stuff that you've got turned off, I've got maintenance turned off, so we're not going to be able to do any of the maintenance facilities. We don't have to worry about that. But you've got anything from roads. Basically, you've got different kinds of roads: a mud road, gravel road, asphalt roads with lamps, etc., and so on. And some with prefab panels, trolley bus roads, tram tracks without pedestrian and car access, one-lane roads, which is kind of buggy these days. They haven't worked all that out yet. And then you got a tram railroad connection here. You got different assortments of bridges, and it'll tell you how fast you can walk across. Those are all pretty much the same, slow. So bridges, I don't know why it's so slow to walk across a bridge. Maybe because you're enjoying the view. I don't know. And then there's the distance between pillars. That's kind of relevant for certain things. You can build tunnels with trams, no tunnels for trolley buses. And we've got different signs here. We'll get into that. Road vehicles, blah, 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 blah. And you've got fueling over here. This is important, where the gas station and stuff is, and the bus stops, bus platforms. And we're not going to deal with cars or anything like that right now. And we've got all this stuff. You got rail, you got footpaths, ships. Yeah, ships and airplanes, which include helicopters, cableways, which we have to research. We have to research for ships and airplanes, I think, to a degree too, especially the airplanes, in order to build an airport. You got your factory connections. You have to research distribution offices beyond the free ones. All this other fun stuff, conveyors, pipelines, dry bulk stuff like concrete, aluminum, oxide. You've got your power plants and your power lines, high voltage, low, medium voltage, transformers, fun stuff like that. I've got some mods going on. We've got water turned off. Heat is important. So you got your heating plants, your heating pipes, all right there. We got waste turned off. Here's where you find all your different residential buildings. You have to research prefab panels in order to build those. Grocery stores, shopping centers, pubs, cinemas, cultural institutions, sporting facilities. Your state infrastructure's got your hospitals, fire, police, universities, schools, all that kind of stuff. This is tourist stuff. Won't get into that super deep. This is your detailing stuff and your monuments. Those are important. I'll explain that in a bit. And then you've got your industrial stuff. Several different options in here, some of it which has to be researched. And then construction. Construction is important because you need construction offices. You need cement plants and concrete plants and all this other stuff in order to take over all that stuff for yourself. And you got terrain tools over here. Some of these are fairly familiar. You will notice that there is not really a slope tool. There is kind of one, but there isn't one like City Skylines. And then your bulldozer and fun stuff like that. And these are hotkeys down here. I've got a certain way I like to set up my hotkeys. Definitely find what way works best for you. Okay, so now the map. We can't really see where the resources are. That's iron and, no, that's coal, iron, oil, uranium, and bauxite, which is used to make aluminum. Uranium is used for nuclear power. The other stuff is pretty obvious. You need coal and oil, coal and iron to make steel. Coal, can be used for heat and electricity and things like that too. Oil to a degree too. So we have water. We've got some connections to the outside world along some of these rivers. But the idea is you really want to kind of find someplace flat, and you want to find someplace with a good access to a customs office. Now, we've got a couple of good customs offices right over here on either side of the map. But we're just going to have to suffer with only dealing with the access to Soviet stuff right now, because it is really, really hard to not have Soviet options when it comes to trucks and vehicles and things like that. And all that stuff has got to come from your customs office, except when you're playing, if you're playing in realistic mode. I'm kind of forgetting right now that I'm not playing in realistic mode. So if I buy anything from a NATO country, I can do that without the customs office. It costs more to ship in. It looks like I can buy vehicles in here. Yes. So everything pretty much works the way it does. Oh, by the way, pause the game. Good idea. So we're going to build near the border. And I'm going to reveal my terrain lines because you can see that goes up really fast. Probably don't want to build on that right away. But we've got a huge flat area right here that is just perfect for building our first town. And then there's, a hill right over here. So first thing I always want to lay out is I got to know where my rail line's going to go. And that's a pretty big deal. But I'm not going to focus too heavily on that at the moment. In general, I've found that it's easiest to go over this hill right here. So that's where our rails are going to eventually end up. What really sucks is this customs office makes it so the road connections are on this side with the mountains and the rails are over here. So that means I either have to cross these right away, or I have to, swing the railway out on the other side so that it doesn't go right through town. But going through town isn't necessarily the worst thing, depending on what you're trying to do. And then as far as industry goes, that's actually probably the first thing we should really think of setting up. There are several different industries that you can choose from that are really practical. The one that I'm going to recommend is clothing. I think clothing is probably the easiest industry to deal with at the beginning of the game, because if you have to bring in a certain amount of fabric, and then you get a certain number of clothes. It's all very low volume, and that's good because you don't want to have to deal with a lot of volume in order to make money, because the trucks are the only way you're going to be able to move things around. We are going to have some money, but if we spend it all on rail infrastructure, it can be very expensive very quickly, even in 1960. That's another thing. This game has inflation, especially when it comes to the rubles. The dollars don't inflate as fast, but the rubles skyrocket in inflation. So that means you're going to have a lot less buying power over time. So you want to kind of make the best use of your rubles and your dollars early on, but especially the rubles. And spend spend as much as you can, but not, not overdo it at the same time. It's a balance. You got to balance everything. So the first order of business is going to be to figure out where we're going to put our industry, and we don't necessarily want to put it right up against the border. And you know what I'm going to do? I am going to just curve these rails because I don't want to forget to do that. And I'm going to... Oh, there's also a grid. I don't know if I mentioned that. There is a grid. I'm going to use it, take advantage of it. I'm going to put rail right through here. And just kind of remember, oh, this is bad. I don't want that done. Okay, so this is another thing you want to set up. Right here, I have just auto-built using rubles, except that I'm paused, so it hasn't built anything. As you can see, you can click on it. It says construction is running without issues because it is going to get foreign workers to come in automatically and build whatever it is that you put down. So like even if I were to build a small house, so like right there it says price if funded from rubles. What that is telling you is that this is going to get built as soon as you unpause it by foreign workers, and it's going to cost you almost 5,000 rubles to do it. So I put that down, it immediately goes to looking like that. You've got the yellow outline of the building and everything that tells you it's planned. If you go into the details, you can cancel the contract for the foreign workers to build it, but then construction will stop. You can continue construction, but this will make it, when you just see the regular red X right there, that means that it's going to build it with you constructing it with your construction equipment. So in order to make it so that we're going to do everything from construction equipment, you want to just so you can pick what it's built, do build from resources. Set that differently. The other thing you want to do is leave active construction checked. We're good with that. The other thing that you want to do is when you go into housing, one of the things it's going to do automatically with housing is get citizens. And what you don't want to do is that. You want to pick when you do that too. Do that manually as well, because that costs you money every time you invite citizens. Basically, you're advertising, hey, move to my republic. It's awesome. You're going to have a great time and enjoy building another communist state. But you don't want people, it costs money to do that. And then they come in and then, you're not ready for them, and that's a problem. So don't do that. So we're going to demolish this. We don't want that there. We're also going to demolish this stuff. And we could just bulldoze this, but another way you can do it, you can cancel the contract if you want to. But hit that demolish button, and it will be, really? Yes, and boom, it's gone. The other way we can do it is we can go in here and cancel railway. That's something you can do with planning mode on. And boom. So yeah, there's a planning mode, which is really cool. You want to take advantage of that. And you want to do it the right way, otherwise trouble. Now, okay, so these controls over here, notice that it says which F key works it. So the wireframe, that is what this grid here is. If you want everything to stick to the wireframe, then you hit F1 again, and you get that magnet icon, and then everything will cling to that. So it's a different kind of grid. It's a static grid that doesn't really adjust like City Skylines does, which is kind of frustrating sometimes because then you can't build things on angles and have them still line up exactly. So it's not my favorite way of doing this, but it does look neater if you're into that kind of thing like I am. It's just nice to keep things organized. So that looks like an interesting kind of bug, maybe. I don't know. And the other thing too is this F4 near snaps. Near snaps are awesome. Basically, I can, if I had F4 and I turn that off, I can get some weird results. And especially with the grid on, but if I turn the grid off, if I'm trying to lay that down just perfectly right next to the other track, that's kind of tough. But I turn F4 on and I just get it close. Oh, that's not a good example. I have to start down there. But if I start with the near snap on both ends, then I can get everything to fit perfectly spaced right up against each other, which is super cool. And I'm going to do that for all these. We're going to get into rail design in a bit here, but right now I just want to make sure that I remember that I'm going to build rail over there. And I'm going to probably just swing it all the way over here. Now when I do that, I'm going to need to, to connect over to my railroad station where I'm going to do my pickup and drop off of clothing and fabric so that I can supply those. So let me go over here. Now with each of these buildings, it's going to tell how many resources it takes to build it. So, you see the work days, that's how many worker days it's going to take to finish building the building, and how much gravel, steel boards, etc. And then how many workers are going to work in that building, that's right underneath. Now, that's just one shift. That's the maximum number that are going to work there at any given time. In order to figure out how many workers you're going to need in order to run that clothing factory all the time, you want to multiply that by 3, maybe 4. So we're going to need at least 240 workers to work this clothing factory, to work one of these. And it's going to produce 1.2 tons of clothes as it uses 2.4 tons of fabric. And it's going to pollute a little bit, not a lot, but it's going to pollute. It's going to use some electricity. Going to have a couple of stations for loading. That's important to know for certain reasons that we'll get into. And then you're going to have a warehouse that's going to hold some of the, the incoming raw materials and the what's going out. So the fabric's going in, so it's saying it's got 21 tons of fabric to store. That is not how much it will use. That's just how much it can store, which is not a lot. Warehouse export, that's how many clothes is going to be able to hold as it makes them, which is, again, not a lot. You can find trucks that hold more than that in clothes. All right, so we're going to lay these down in a way that will make them easy to connect to rail. So these little arrows. Okay, so you get the arrow that looks like it's got the road dashes down there at the bottom. I'd point to it, but you can't see me point. Basically, that is your road connection. All the ones with the little people, the blue ones with the little people, those are footpath connections where you can directly connect a footpath to that building so that workers can get in and out. Trucks come and go only from the road connection. Workers can come in through the road connection or the footpath connections. And then those other ones with the yellow arrows, those are factory connections. And you can connect those to warehouses or other factories so that you can kind of set up your supply chain, bang, 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 all in a row. What we're going to do is we're going to plan for this all being done mostly by truck to start, but we want to be able to do it by train as our Republic advances. So I'm going to set up right here. I'm going to turn my grid on again. I'm going to set up 2 of these clothing factories, and I'm going to set them right next to each other. Oh, and the other thing too is you can hit T and R. I think I have a mouse where I have all these keys set. So yeah, T is this is something I wish they had in City Skylines. You can reflect do a reflection, invert the building. So like right here, this is the natural way the building comes out. If I hold down the control key, I can hide that little thing there. But if I hit T, then it will reflect it. And I think I hit it twice. Yeah, so that's the natural way. If I hit T again, then it is opposite. So we've got all those factory connections on the other side now. That's pretty cool little thing that I love about this game. So you can make the buildings face whatever direction you want by rotating it, which, by the way, you can do that with the scroll button on the mouse. But you can also do R, and that will rotate it. So I'm going to put two of those right next to each other, and I'm going to build... Actually, I'm going to put a little more space in between here. And I'm thinking I'm going to put a warehouse in between. So warehouse is over here under general cargo. And I want a pretty good sized warehouse because I'm going to use this for something else here in a minute here. I don't think I want the biggest one, but I do want a good size one. Don't know if I want that one though. How much does this hold? It will hold 490 tons of fabric, and this is if you only put fabric in it. This is not how much of each it will hold all at once. You can pick a mix and match. 490 tons of fabric and 350 tons of clothes. That's pretty good. I'm trying to figure out. I think that I'm going to use. Yeah. Why don't I do this? I'm going to use a little bigger one. I'm going to overdo it because I have lots of money. And I'm a little weird about making everything line up and, as B-Ball-Joe say, look pretty. So I'm going to try to eyeball a little bit and try not to go too crazy, get it too perfect. Okay, so I've got one there, and I'm going to put another clothing factory on the other side. And, you're going to get a lot of different opinions on this, but I like to keep things rather compact for reasons. That's probably going to be good. I'm going to actually move that so it's centered, that warehouse. Turn off my snapping here. And that should be pretty good right there. And I'm holding down the control key when I place those so it doesn't put the automatic factory connections down. So now I can put my factory connections. This will connect each of those to the warehouse, which is good. Now I want a railroad station. And I might have to reposition some of the rail. So I'm going to go with a larger railroad station here. And, I'm going to be a rebel here and not go with the biggest one. And I'm going to put it right here. I think I can still get it pretty close. Okay, I'm going to connect this up. Actually, I'm not going to use that one. Sometimes you use the ones that are too close and it gives you a hard time. But I can get factory connections to all of those, and I can run my rails over here. So now I have connection to all three storages, and they can kind of be shared amongst everything. Now the other thing I'm going to do, yeah, I already did something I wasn't actually thinking of. Oh well, this is fine. We're going to go with this. Normally I would have a lot more room for my construction industry, but you get into old habits. So now I'm going to put some roads in and make it so that I can make sure I can get in and out of everything. And I'm going to use gravel roads to start off with here. I probably should use mud roads though, honestly. Yep, let's do mud roads. Mud roads are free. Okay, so all of these roads, except for the one, you have to build. Pretty much all the infrastructure you actually have to build with workers and resources or machines, mechanisms, as they are often called in the game. Mud roads are one of the exceptions. You don't have to actually pay anything or expend anything to build those. So I'm going to build this, and I'm going to, we're going to upgrade some of these to gravel roads at some point here pretty soon. I'm going to build this across, and that'll go into town. That's right. I need a bus station as well. Okay, so that'll take care of my loading. And actually, I think I might want this to go the other direction. I kind of need it to go both directions. So we're not going to have that be the end right there. We're going to have this go in this direction here. Okay, so this connects everything here. Let me move these rails so that they connect in here. Actually, I don't think I want to move these so much as I just need to connect them. I can get into more about how to design the rails at some point here, but for right now, we'll just go with a rudimentary connection and deal with the rest later. The rails are going to extend off that way and go up over the mountain over here, probably. But for right now, I just need to make sure that I have this all connected so that I know what I'm doing here. So I'm going to be able to bring in fabric to the warehouse. The warehouses will be, the factories will be able to share that. I can bring it in by train as well, and everything should be hunky-dory. Now, the other thing I need to be able to do is I need to be able to get people in and out to work here. So I need a bus stop. I'm going to use a bus for this. And I could put it right here on this road, but I don't really like that idea 100% because I don't want that to be, I just want that to be a service road. I don't want to be bringing buses up and down that road. So these little blue markers here that you're seeing, these are telling you how far walking distance is to each of these buildings. This is very, very useful information to have because your bus stops need to be within walking distance of where people want to go or where people want to come to get to the bus stop. Right now, we need to know how far they're going. And if you use different kinds of infrastructure, like mud roads and mud paths, they do not go as far. And that's what this, the significance is here. It says walking speed 50% on a mud road. Whereas if I go with an asphalt street with lamps and sidewalks, it's 87% walking speed. And you get some varying, variations on that. If we go over to footpaths, mud paths are 50%, just like the mud roads. 87% for a gravel footpath, and then you've got an asphalt, which is 95%, and asphalt footpath with lamps, 100%. So, and then some of these also have different lengths. I find that the pedestrian underpass, the pedestrian tunnel is roughly equal to a gravel footpath. And then these bridges, for whatever reason, I don't remember that they are as effective as that. But the point is that you can see those numbers and they will tell you how far something is. So I'm going to put a bus stop right here. And we're going to connect that by road. We're going to use, we'll connect this by road. And I'm not going to fuss too much over anything else here. We're just going to try to keep this as simple as I can possibly manage without going crazy. Now, the other thing I'm going to do, okay, so I want to be able to move things relatively quickly between the customs house and here. So I need a road to do that. And I'm going to build this road. Whoops, I missed it. I'm going to build this road out here and connect it into this customs office reasonably directly. Another thing that's kind of cool, why isn't it letting me build that? Okay, there we go. Another thing that's kind of cool about this too is the way the curves are handled. Use the scroll buttons and you can easily create S-curves. In fact, really way too easily sometimes. But like if I want this to blend nicely into having a nice pretty road, I can just use the scroll button and change how tight of a curve that is. I don't want it to be a tight curve, so I'm going to leave it like that and then straighten that out. And we're going to have a supply road that runs into my city over here. Okay, so I've got a connection there. That'll be for my town. Now, I don't want this to be all mud roads because first off, I have enough money. I don't need to. But also, I want things to move relatively quickly. So in order to speed things up, I'm going to have this upgraded to a gravel road. So I'm just going to go through and highlight these with the gravel road tool, and bam, it will build a gravel road when I tell it to. And I'm going to take that all the way to the customs post. Okay, so I've got that. The next thing I need to do is I need to build a town. That's where I'm going to bring in my workers. The other thing I need over here, since I want to keep my pollution all in the same place, which is very much like any of the other city builders out there, you want to put the keep the pollution all in the same neck of the woods so that you can more easily manage it. Now, a heating plant generates a lot more pollution. You're going to be burning coal in here in order to keep your city going. And I really don't recommend, except in very narrow circumstances, building a small heating plant. Watch some of the Bibaljo's series and you'll see some of why it's really undersized. It doesn't really hold up, bring enough heat for even a small city in a lot of cases. But you can get away with it. There's times when it's useful, but it's kind of annoying to have to supply at the same time. With the heating plant, you're going to need a few things to make that work. You're going to need a lot of coal. So I want to build my heating plant somewhere over here where I can bring in the coal and have enough of it. I'm going to actually build that over here, which is going to require a railroad crossing. Maybe I won't build it over here. Well, first off, let me try to figure out where in the world am I going to build a coal terminal with a rail. I want to aggregate storage, and I'm gonna go with a nice one. This one here is good, and I need a loader to be able to load this. So let's go with a simple aggregate loader. This train aggregate loading. I need unloading. My bad. Train aggregate unloading. This will unload the train for coal. So I can set this up just so it will catch some rail. And I think I'm just going to repurpose this whole thing. This is going to probably come back and bite me later. You'll get to see it. It'll be fun, right? And you can get this rail to go right past here. I'm not going to make it perfect, but you get the idea. Yeah, you know what? I've actually had this backfire. We're not going to do it like that. I'm going to pull this back. I'm going to put this somewhere else. Let's see here. Train aggregate unloading right here. And we're going to put this... We're going to put this on another whole spur. We'll put it right here. And then I can build my heating plant right there. Okay, so I've got a general idea where I'm going to put my heating plant. Let's just throw that in there right now, so that I know I have enough space. I'm going to kind of put it right here next to the warehouse and whatnot. And then I'm going to put my train aggregate unloading. There's a few places you can find a lot of this stuff, but I want to be able to unload my train into a storage, and I need my storage here. Let me grab that, and we'll put this right here. Connect it with a conveyor like so. This can be really finicky sometimes, but that's an easy one. And get my unloader, and I want that to be somewhere where I can easily reach it. Now, this is where the reflection thing, if I hit T, whoops, yeah, T, then it will flip that around and make it so that I can put the road connection on the other side, but keep the rail connection where I want it. And I'm going to put that rail connection, yeah, I'm going to put it right here. And we'll let it put the automatic conveyor in. You'll see it's white. This means it's planned. This means it's approved. We'll talk more about that in a bit. All right, so now let me just connect my rail here. And we're going to make that a little longer. And I'm not thinking I'm going to be using this for very long. I'm going to eventually get my own coal here. And I should probably not even be spending that much time on this, but I'm going to. All right, so I'm going to get a crossover here. I might move that out a little bit further. First off, I need to make sure I have room for my signals. Always put your signals in first next to your stations if you're planning on doing something next to them. That way you'll have enough space on your rail to build a signal. And you know, you can, as long as you can get the rail in, you're good. I hit F4 and it'll make it, it should make it. Yeah, there we go. So I can get up next to that. All right, so now I can connect this. And that's really short. So we're gonna move this a little bit. And this is, I can understand where a lot of people find this overwhelming. It was for me too. We'll connect that there. It was overwhelming for me to figure out some of this stuff because there's a lot to figure out. And I'm going to build that. I'm probably going to regret that. Hold on a second. Let me change this up just a little bit. This is going to make it more expensive. These conveyors are crazy amounts of expensive, but I really need the space. And you know what? I can move the heating plant. So let's figure out how far we can move this thing. I want this rail to have enough room for a train to come in from either direction. Because eventually I might be bringing coal in from the other direction. And I keep turning off the ring thing. All right, there's my near snaps. Do like 44 meters. That's close to 100. That should be enough. And I'm going to put my unloader right in here. Flip that around. That should be enough for a reasonably long train. And I'm going to need that so that people can get around it. And you know, I'm not going to worry too much about the rest of this. I'm just going to put this out here to have a placeholder. I'm not going to worry about this right now either. But either way, I've got enough rail here to bring in what I need. And then I'm going to connect up my storage here. And then I will build my heating plant. Right there. Let me make sure my conveyors are all connected. As a force of habit, I just make it so that I'm always laying all this stuff manually. It's a little easier to see. You know, if I zoom out, I can still see it. If it's the yellow ones, then, you know, it's really hard to spot sometimes. And then the other thing I'm going to do is extend that road to meet the heating plant. Whoops, too close to the building. That's another thing too. Corners are really kind of annoying with the road tools, but you get used to it. It's not too bad. And as you can see, you get really nice curves without too much effort. I'm really not doing anything special with that. Okay, so we've got all the fun stuff that we're going to need to run a town and make it profitable right over here. And the other thing I'm probably going to want to do is have that be a gravel road, just so that... No, you know what? I'm not going to need a gravel road there. That's right. I'm going to use jump trucks that are way too slow to be able to enjoy the use of a gravel road. All right, so now I need a town. And I want this town to be relatively far from my heating plant, but not insanely far. And we do have pollution turned on. So I need to be able to run my heating pipes. Now you can run a length of 1,000 without having to use, you know, essentially a repeater. And if you're 1,000, if you're about 1 kilometer away, then, you know, you're going to be in pretty good shape as far as pollution goes. Let's go over here. And I'm going to fudge it a little bit. We'll go with 800, honestly, right here. So that means I can bring this thing out. And I do not have my grid my stamping on. Whoops. I'm gonna go with a gravel road straight away on this one. And then I'm going to build around a bus stop. So right there. All right, so my town's going to be Almavery. It'll automatically set up a name sometimes for you, which is kind of nice. All right, so I've got a little bit of run to get to the bus over here, and that's because this is way longer than 400 meters, which is roughly walking distance in a lot of cases, with a good path or a good road. So now I want to build a town. Actually, I don't want to build that right there. I need that to be the edge of town. So we're going to take this road in just a tiny bit further here. Let's go 200 meters roughly. And then we'll build the bus stop. Because I've got walking distance to get to the bus stop, might as well take advantage of it. All right, so there's one other thing that you want to have in the center of town besides just a bus stop. Bus stop, you want it to be centralized because you want everybody able to walk to it. The other thing you want everybody able to walk to is all the essentials. And we're going to go over here to residential areas and go to, we've got grocery stores. Those are really tiny. They do not hold a lot. They also do not hold a lot of shoppers or workers. So they're really efficient. They're really cheap to build. And I like to use them a lot at the beginning, but other than that, I don't really like to. There's also the small store, which is basically the grocery store, except it sells clothes and electronics. And you really need to be able to get your workers, food and meat at basic level, but they also need to have new clothes so that they don't wear out. And they need to have electronics for entertainment purposes, although you can kind of hold off on doing some of that. But as your workers get more educated and they get more sophisticated, you're going to need more electronics. So you can use a shopping center, which actually will supply all four things. There's a larger version and a smaller version. If you have the Ukraine expansion, then you get the Okan supermarket. And once again, I don't know how bad I'm slaughtering the names, so please forgive me. I am going to go with the small shopping center because we're just going to try to keep this somewhat simple. And one of the things that you'll note about the small shopping center is it's got 2 stations for vehicle loading and unloading. You want to have one free. They've made some changes to make it so that if something is waiting to unload somewhere, it's not as devastating for like fire. Otherwise your building will burn down because you've got a truck that's like, nope, I'm not done unloading. Well, yeah, you're never going to be done unloading because it's on fire. Nobody's in the building shopping. So then the fire trucks can't get in. The place burns down. It's not like City Skylines where it just pulls up on the side street and says, oh, hey, we'll be able to extend a hose from there. Or like City Skylines 2 where there's no animation. It just shows up and, hey, the fire magically went out. It's great. Hopefully they'll add animations. But I couldn't resist taking a dig. So small shopping center right here. We're going to we're going to use a small shopping center, and we're going to have to add a loading station to this. And I'm going to put this like I said, I have like a service road over here. And, oh yeah, that's right. I would like to be able to do that by train at some point. I'm not going to worry about it. We could actually have a service road coming from over here too. I don't like to have the bus road be the same as the service road if I can help it. Although I could probably get away with it in this case, and I think I'm going to try that. We're just going to go with the same gravel road. This will save us money eventually in the end, really. Anyway, and I want the service road to be somewhere where it's not. I want to make sure that where people are crossing isn't going to be in the way. It does simplify things a great deal. You know, if the buses don't have to worry about crossing, people crossing the road. So I'm going to put this right here. Yeah. I'm going to put this right here. And then we're going to need another road here. And I want that to be gravel. And actually, I'm going to make that even a little simpler yet. Because I'm going to build on both sides of this road. I'm going to build a crossroad over here, but I'm going to get my loading station set up first. And we're going to use just the vanilla road cargo station with this. It's got, by the way, it's got 4 slots for vehicles to wait on, which is ideal for this situation. And place that right there. Now I can't really tell that that's a what that is. So I kind of like to be able to see it. It's a little easier to identify when it's still in planning mode rather than already approved. So I'm going to want a gravel road over here. Let me bring my grid back. Not everything lines up perfectly to the grid. It would be super great if it did, but it doesn't. And then I'm not going to build this connection right here yet. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to auto build this, so I'm not going to worry about it. Auto build is a feature that you're going to really want to take advantage of in this game. We're just going to have all the loading taken care of there with this loading station, but you want everything, all your buildings to be connected somehow by a road or a footpath. In this case, you want a road for this building since it's a shopping center, so that you can have fire protection right there on the spot. Okay, so this is our most essential stuff right here that we have to have. We have to have shopping, and we have to have a bus stop. So we've got all that. And the bus stop will be used to get everybody down here to the clothing factories and the heating plant. By the way, the heating plant, is that within walking distance? That's a really good question. And thankfully, we have this little icon here that says buildings within walking distance. It is not within walking distance. So that is something that I neglected to account for. And these are only footpath connections. So this road connection is way closer. Another thing we can use is this doodad here to figure out how close we are. And I just want to get a rough idea if we are even remotely close. We are 257 meters as the crow flies. Yeah, so we're going to need a gravel path here to get there. And I'm going to, yeah, you know what, I'm going to simplify and make it so it only crosses the road once. We're going to run that along here. Yeah, that'll work. And this should bring us within a reasonable distance. And now if I hover over that, it'll say it's 362 meters. So that means that it is within walking distance once I build that path. So it's in light blue as opposed to solid blue. That means that once I build everything, then yeah, it'll work. So that's good. And so that should take care of that. All right, so we've got enough to keep everything there. I'm going to just do something else I like that Bibaljo does. That's a good memory aid. I'm just going to throw a road right here just so I remember how close I don't want to get to the heating plant and the pollution sources over here. Okay, so now I have a rough idea of my town. I need to build some buildings for the people to live in. But before we go into that, let me add a few other buildings that we're going to need at the center of town, or want at the center of town, that are near, at least within walking distance of the shopping center, just so I don't have to remember them later. And that would be a cinema and some type of sports thing. We're going to put the cinema right here. And we're going to put it back a little bit. And we're going to put the indoor pool in. And put that, right, we want to have gravel paths for everybody to walk on. I'm going to try to keep these somewhat straight. I'm just going to build that out here. And that's pretty good. And we're going to do the same thing in the other direction. I'll just build a guide road out here. We may or may not use that. It might just, bulldoze it in a bit or cancel it. Actually, why don't I just cancel it now? I just want to make sure I can get in the middle between the two pieces because it just comes out really nice that way. I might regret having done it the way I did it though, because I'm not sure. Yeah, it doesn't. Let me redo that because it won't follow the grid lines and it'll just make it awkward later. I kind of need to do it right here. I need to have, if we follow the grid from the get-go, then everything will follow the grid. Oops, perfectly. I just need to get, if you can see that little dot pops up in the middle right there. And then I can go over here and keep everything straight. And I should get those little dots at regular intervals along the grid the way I want them. And I can get rid of this, get rid of that, and I can still keep things relatively neat. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. I find this makes my life way easier in the end, and you'll see why in a second, probably. Okay, so I want to be able to connect that to that, and I want to be able to connect this to that. And you don't need to have all the connections in, you just need to have enough of them. Okay, so now let's get an indoor pool in here under sport, indoor pool. Those require a little bit of workers, but it's one of the cheaper ways of being able to keep everybody happy when it comes to their sports desires, to be able to just go out there and blow off some steam. And these have road connections, but they don't have to have them used. So I'm just going to place that there and to maximize connectivity. I'm going to connect both of those. All right, so I've got those essentials. Now let's put some housing. And we've got lots of different sizes of buildings, and it shows how many workers. For whatever reason, it says passenger capacity on these. Does it say it on all of these? Well, anyway, passenger capacity is not quite the right thing. But these will hold 146 workers, 177 workers. Now, one of the things you'll want to pay attention to is quality of flats. That is going to be basically like your max number for happiness. If they are 94% quality flat, they're going to be a lot happier than a 77% quality flat. Although they might not affect us as much at this difficulty level, they can at higher ones. So now let's get. Well, there's one other thing I can add here in the center of town, but we'll put that in a second. All right, so now one of the things I like to do is I kind of like to run roads because some things, I forgot about one more important thing, and I bet B-Ball Joe is saying it in his head as he's watching my video. You need a hospital. I do need a hospital. I forgot all about that. Just remembered. Hospital is important because obviously your citizens are going to need health care. So we're going to throw that in. Yeah, we're going to put it right here. It's at least as critical as most everything else. And there is a small clinic in the game. We could go with that, but hey, we've got money, so why bother? And you do need a road connection for this. So extend that. And bam. Not perfectly straight, but it'll work. Okay. And let's get us know I like to go with the large buildings. They're just a lot easier. You only have brick construction at the beginning. You have to research prefab panels construction. There's a whole research tree that you have to go through to get to all of these. But there are even some pretty good size high rises here. Some of them are better quality than others, but the ones that I prefer are usually this one right here, 96% quality. But 94% ain't bad, and it's brick. It'll work. We're going to go with that. And it'll hold 146 workers. So now we have to supply enough workers to work at the shops and the factories and the hospital. We have to have enough for the fire station that we're going to build and the heating plant and the 2 clothing factories. And the heating plant has 30 workers. You can see that if you go up to the heating plant. Like, once again, it'll show maximum number of workers, 30. So that'll hold 30 workers at full production. We might not need all of those, but we want to kind of plan for full production anyway, just in case. So we're going to need 30 times 3, 90 workers at least there. And then we've got the 240 each. So we're looking at easily over 500 workers just to make this whole industrial area work. And then we're going to need people to work in these buildings over here. So we're going to need a fair number of workers, and that's just for one shift, 500. So that's 1,500 workers easily there. Let's look at how many go into the hospital. We're not going to have to staff that fully, but we'll plan for it. 150 workers again there. Nope, I'm sorry, 60. The fire station, it's not going to tell you exactly, but it depends on which trucks you use. So I would say at least 40 workers, probably more like 100. So we've got 500, 560, 660. We're going to need the shopping center. That's another 25. So let's just say 700. And then we might add, well, we have the cinema. That's easy. That's only 5. The pool is 18. So like 725 maybe, multiplied that times 3. And what is that? About 2,200 workers that we're going to need in this town to fully staff everything, especially when you add the pub. Only 5 more workers. Yeah, so let's just say 2,200. That's not super big, but it's not very small either. I'm going to try to get everything connected by road here as best I can as well, so that things can construct a little faster and move along in general just a little bit faster. I don't know why this is lagging on me here. All right, so we're going to start there, and I'm going to do the same thing over here and just face that road connection out. Whoops, I had that turned exactly where I wanted it. All right. That looks pretty good. Okay. So now I need to pull these out just a little bit here. And then put in some roads in front. I could probably actually use mud roads. Probably should. Yeah, I'm going to use mud roads over here. We'll upgrade these later. So as you can see, there's a lot of front loading in getting this all set up. All right, now one of the things we want to check and see is how far everything is from walking distance. So we got 161 meters. Okay, so we already have a problem here. We don't have any way for them to get across the street because the bus stops, for whatever reason, do not pass people across. So why don't we move that bus stop just a little bit here? We're going to pull these out. No, I don't need to do that one. We're going to move this bus stop a tiny little bit. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Get rid of that. And hopefully this will or not. I'm going to do some things a little different. I'm going to put this in. Normally, I don't do it this way, but kind of have to sometimes to get these finicky bus stops to fit in where you want them and get the footpaths to fit where you want them. So this should, yes, that's exactly what I want. So we got the footpaths in there. The bus stops should still be well within range of everything. We can see it's at maximum 185 meters. Oh, you know what? I don't even have the closest footpath connections connected here, so that we can see. Oh, and you know what? I didn't leave enough room to probably. Oh no, I can do this. Okay, so the bus stop is 103 to 123 meters away from any of our housing, which leaves a lot of room to expand either direction. So I'm going to add some more of that. Just kind of do it in a pattern. And I'm going to go down the street a little bit here too. I'm going to try to leave enough room so that I am not so that I have enough, I can get my footpaths in. And I should probably, yeah, I should do it like this. And not the way I just did it on that other side. I'm going to take those out and replace that just so I can get a closer footpath connection in the right spot. Okay. I can extend this down here and run one behind. That is not coming out the way I want it to. I guess I don't have a choice. All right, so that is what? How many of these hold? 143, is it? Whoops. 146 times. What does that come out to? 146. That's about 150 times 8. That's about 1,200 workers right there. So if I just do the same thing over here, then I should have more than enough housing, which is exactly what I need. Oh, and is it close enough to reach everything? My bus stop? Yes, well within range. And my shopping center, also well within range. Okay, so we're in great shape there. Everything should be able to reach. Does that take care of it pretty well? Yeah. That should be good enough. This is good enough to start. I'll just connect all these up. And actually, before I get into footpaths again here, I'm going to replace this. Should have done this before. Buljo likes to use the bulldozer. I have a hard time taking the chance with it. He's very, very good with it, bulldozer. I take out way too much stuff when I try to use that, so I like to use the cancel tools a whole lot more. I just feel safer. But there's a lot of different ways you can play this game, and that's the key. Is you got to figure out which one you like best. And I'm going to just connect all this out. Now I can easily expand, build more stuff in this direction, and I can fill some of this in too. I'm not going to worry about that right now because there might be other things like schools and universities and kindergartens I need to slap in there somewhere. But right now I've got 6, 8 times about 100. Is that right? That's not right. That's 6 and 8. That's 14 times 100 and roughly 150. So that should be plenty. Oh, I got to connect the rest of these with the footpaths here, don't I? And for whatever reason, I am finding a bug. I don't even know what it is. Oh, what is the deal with that? You will notice some bugs. This is the test version too, so if they change stuff and it breaks it, sometimes that's what happens. They do have a more stable beta version out there. Well, actually, a more stable early access version, I should call it, that takes care of more of this stuff without causing so many problems. Okay, so whoop, I don't need that one. All right, so everything should be connected. Let's just double check, and we'll zoom out. And if we see blue indicators on all of them, then they are connected, and they are. All of the bus stops. So that will be perfect. And I don't really need all of this. So I'm going to get rid of it. And I don't need all of this. So I'm just going to remove these because it's going to cost me money. So I'm going to do something that's going to automatically build all this, which is something that you can do really easily. If you're playing with auto build turned on. Oh, you know what? I did not put all of these in here. All right. Okay, so I've got my town, most of my basics. There's a few things I could use here that I want to add. One is a fire station. Now, with a fire station, okay, so you want everybody able to walk to everything that they need. They need to be able to walk to a hospital. They need to be able to walk to or some kind of healthcare building. They need to be able to walk to the shopping center. And once they get to the shopping center, a lot of times they want to go to the cinema or the indoor pool or something like that. And when they do that, then as long as they're within walking distance of the shopping center, they're good. Now, the cool thing is you don't really have to worry about how far they are from home, wherever they end up. Because as long as they make it there, that's all that matters. There's no return trip in Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. Literally, the game teleports workers back. And there's a bunch of reasons for this. I think that'll become clearer as we go on. So I don't really need this to connect to everything, but I do want it to be able to cover all this stuff out here. So I only need one fire station because it's a huge, huge problem if I don't do that. So I want my footpath connections to face out, and I want to be able to have pretty easy direct access to this road because that is going to be the main way that fires get put out. Now I did turn fires down, but I don't really want to take my chances with that now, do I? All right, so I'm going to put this fire station out here on the edge of town. We're going to build that right there. We're going to give it a regular gravel road connection right here. And hopefully we can get an idea quickly if this is going to work. You basically have 1,600 meters, which is roughly a mile. I think it's like 1625 or something like that. In American terms, it's a mile if you do the conversion. So I've got 700 and some meters there, and the farthest thing I'm going to have out here is going to be all this stuff, and it's still going to be well within. You see the ground distance is less than 13. It's 1,300 roughly. That's within 1,600, which is a mile, so we'll be good. I forgot to extend all of that, but I can do that really quick here. And then I'm going to start taking questions once we get some of this going. I'm not going to get into the construction side of things because that's a whole other ball of wax that is kind of complicated. But it's one of the fun parts of the thing. We'll see how much time we've got. We have a little bit of time. Probably not enough time to get into construction. But we are going to get the logistics set up here. Another thing we want to have in town here is a university And we're going to want to have a school and a kindergarten. So let's figure out where we're going to put our university. And the one university that I would definitely recommend starting off with is the headquarters of the Communist Party. And there's a smaller version of that. We're going to use that to start off with. And the research is the main reason why we want to use that instead of some other building. And I think I can fit it in right here, as long as I'm not too worried about how it's going to look, which I kind of am, but I'm not going to worry about it. We're just going to throw this in somewhere quick and dirty and connect it to a footpath. And so that should be able to access most things. Now we need a school that is reachable by foot for everybody. That I think we can squeeze in right here. This will take care of educating the children. And then the other thing that we need is a kindergarten. Kindergarten in the United States is not the same as kindergarten in this game. Kindergarten in the United States is where you send your 5-year-olds to go for their first year of school. In this, it's basically a daycare for little babies and small children. So the parents can go to work. And they just need to be within walking distance of housing wherever it is that there's housing. So don't fret too much over this. That should be within access to probably the whole city. Let's see in a second here. Zoom out. Hover over the footpath. Okay, so it's not. So when I start building over here, I'm going to need another one of these, which is probably logical anyway, because usually these will max out and you'll need more anyhow. But they're pretty cheap and easy to build, so I'm not going to fret over that at the moment. I might be able to... maybe I can stick it in here. Let me see if I can fit it in the center of town. Oh, yeah, I can, actually. Let's do that. This is really tight. I don't usually like to put it in this tight, but I just want to emphasize the importance of walking distance. That is a big deal in any city builder game, really, because it's how you reduce your traffic and your transportation needs a great deal. So now I'm reaching everything with that in the location. So I've got everything I need, if I can remember right. I'm sure Bibaljo is watching. If he is, he's probably thinking, no, there's more. And he's probably right. I'm probably forgetting something. But all right, so that's everything we need to get started. Now, infrastructure is something else that we need to consider too. And it looks like we might have just enough room to fit some of it in. So we're going to need a power connection. And I think I can make that fit right here. Yes, I can. I don't see if... There, okay, I saw a road. All right, I'm going to just accept that that's probably going to work. You know what? I'm going to build it on the other side of the street, though. Because I'm going to need to do that a little different here. All right, so I'm going to put this here. We're going to connect it with a mud path, mud road, dirt road. And that should be adequate to start off with. We're probably going to need more of those. The other thing I need is a heat exchanger, and this is what delivers the heat from the heating plant to the town when it's out of range of just being right on top of the thing. Now you want to be able to reach everything with this, and you can sort of see whether that's the case with all these lines. I could probably build this on the edge of town right here. I think I'm going to do that. Then I don't have to take up any valuable real estate. These things reach pretty far, and I'm going to put it off the road right here just so that the access is not on the main road for when I want to upgrade it. I'll put a mud road here, and then I need to connect that with a heating pipe. You want to use the big heating pipe with the big heat exchangers and the big heating plants. And these do not have to be anything. I like to use the underground ones. I just think they're easier. It's only 761 meters away, and I'm not going to use that one. I don't want to use that. That is probably not the best move because I might have to run other heating pipes over here to this town. So I'm going to try to think ahead a little bit and just go to one of the center ones here, since this is in the center of town. So just go to this one. And that will take care of that. Now I need to set up most of my power grid. For that, I like to use a mod. You don't have to. I like to use a mod because it's a whole lot easier to make changes later. So I'm going to use this transformer mod. I'm not honestly sure which one that is, but it is up on the Steam Workshop. And I want to build this somewhere where it's out of the way and likely not in the way of anything I want to do in the future. Also, I want it to be somewhat close to, I need to be close to my foreign power connection here. So you know what? I'm going to take advantage of, I don't want to use up this space. I might want to build something that needs rail access right there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get out of underground view. Sorry about that. I'm going to build this right here. It'll be a good spot for being able to get into town as well. And I need to have a substation out here too. And I'm going to build that nestled. Nah, you know, I'm going to just build it right here by this factory. And we're going to use the good power lines here for this. The medium voltage wires, we need that to connect to the transformer. And then we're going to connect the transformer to high voltage lines. The grid is really handy for this sometimes. Sometimes it is kind of a handicap. And hopefully that does reach everything, doesn't it? Oh, it does not. I need to put that over here. I'm going to put that right here. Use a different spot here. This is one of the things you can do when you've got infrastructure planned, but you're like, oh, I don't want any of that. You can go over here, expand that, and it's only dealing with the electrical infrastructure. If we do this with the road with all the other stuff, you know, if like we close this panel, it'll show all the infrastructure that we've got, and it will cancel all of it, including the rail and the roads and the other stuff, the factory connections. We don't want that. We just want to deal with canceling the power stuff. And that's this big red X, and then bam, the power line is gone. That's dangerous if you're doing what I'm doing, so use it at your own risk, but it is handy. And you know what, I'm not going to run it like that. Hold on. You can also cancel it like this. I need to run it. Yeah, that'll be better. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so now I need to run one into the town. And then we should be pretty good to go. I'm going to try to keep this one a little closer to the street. But this is probably going to come back to haunt me later a little bit, because I might want to build something along that road, and these power lines have a way of jamming things up for doing stuff like that. And we're just going to run that straight over there. Just make this easy. Okay, so we've got electricity. We've got our heat. We don't need water. We don't need waste. I think everything is pretty well set to go. Oh, wait. Forgot to connect my high voltage. I got to build a power transformer. Now, I like to use these four-way transformers. There's one right here, switch 42. I don't know. It's really, really compact. That's why I like it. And I'm going to build one. I'm not going to build it right there. I'm going to build it over here. And this might come back to haunt me too, but I can always rebuild and move things around later. Connect it with a mud path. That's probably going to be within range of the fire station. Let me double check and make sure. Just follow this road roughly. And yes, it is. It is well within the fire station range. So under a mile. That's what we care about. And now I'm going to run high voltage wires. Now you have to research the biggest ones. I'm just going to go with, yeah, I'm going to go with the biggest one here. Because we have no money. I don't think it connected. If you're zoomed out too far, sometimes it won't do like you expect. And we'll connect to, whoa, what is going on? There it goes. So that's connected there, and I need another one over here. I don't have to have quite as much voltage going through this. This is going to feed the town, whereas that might feed the next town. So we're just going to run this like so. All right, so now we've got our electricity. We've got our heat. We have our housing. We have our services. I think we've got everything we need. And so we're going to come into here and we're going to exit out of this. And we've got all this stuff. It is going to cost us 177,000 and some rubles in order to build all the stuff that we've got planned. And that's fine by me. So let's, well, actually, that's not fine by me because I don't want to do all the rail. So we're going to do, we don't want to do any rail right now. We're going to do all the roads. We're going to have to add some more here. We're going to do all the footpaths. And we're not even going to do all the conveyors. We do need to do this, and we can, we're going to add that in a second. We need to do all the electricity infrastructure. We're going to fund all that. And, you know, yeah, we're going to do the heat. We're not going to do construction in this episode. And then we're going to run around and take care of the important stuff. Okay, I need to do factory connections. And I'm going to need... So now we'll pause the game and we'll see some of this stuff get built. And that's what happens when you just auto-build things. At least with the roads and some of the infrastructure. So now we have all our electricity infrastructure built, but we don't have any of our buildings built. So let's build some of our buildings here. And some of these roads we definitely need. So we're going to go around and hit this little ruble button, and that will automatically build these with the foreign workers. We'll let the game speed go a little bit here. And we're going to see our money ticking down. But it won't cost us a huge amount until we start getting into more expensive things like buildings. And I probably should... No, I think we'll be all right. As long as we can get that warehouse, we're good. And we've got a mud road right there. Okay, so that's good to start. So we're going to need well, we're going to need this heat exchanger. Yeah, we need the heat exchanger. So we're going to purchase that with rubles. We need the fire station. We need the shopping center. And the cargo station. And the factory connection. And we're just going to go through and build all of this stuff. The foreign workers will come in automatically and build it. We need the bus stop. The cinema. Our pool. Now some things are finishing up already. And what else do we need? It looks like we need housing. Now we're going to go through and build a lot of this housing. I'm just going to go with the closest stuff first. Just hit the ruble button. Being close to the border has its advantages. When you're closer to the border, you know, like we're close to the Soviet border here, so that's good for making sure that our foreign workers aren't coming in from very far away. The farther away from the border they are, the more they cost to bring in automatically when you auto build. So keep that in mind. So now we have the buildings and our power infrastructure built, most of them. I don't have that bus stop built yet. I'm going to need at least one of these and this. So I'll have a warehouse here. I don't need these factory connections, but I do need this one. And I need the heating plant. And I think that will take care of most of this. We won't worry about the rail infrastructure just yet. We've got our housing. Oh, we've got our university. Okay, forgot about that one. We need our substations. There's one. And I'm not going to build that one, so I need to demolish. Cancel that one. Get rid of the road that went to that. And then I'm going to build this one. Since that's the one that we actually connected. Okay. Alright. So that is looking good so far. Now our next order of business is to feed all of these things. And one of the thing we're going to need are a few things. You almost need a checklist for all of this stuff. So we're going to need a road depot. We're going to pause this because something could catch fire while we're hanging around waiting. We're going to build a road depot. We're going to build it as close to the border station as we possibly can because we're going to be, well, maybe we don't really need to do this, but we're going to do it just for the sake of simplicity. You build it close to the border station, that has its advantages because then you don't have to deal with, oh, I don't know why that is doing that. There must be some kind of bug that I am discovering currently, and I don't know what it is. Haha, I don't know why that's happening. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're going to connect that. Use the mouse button, the scroll wheel, and you can bring that curve into control the way you want it. The road vehicles depot, if I can ever click on it, will allow me to buy things like buses and stuff like that and trucks. Right now, I need trucks. I've got some that are my favorites that I like. The one I need right now to be able to supply the store with food is going to be a covered hull. And we want to find the biggest one we've got. And it's probably the one that I have starred right there. So this SKD 706. We're going to buy one of those. We don't really need more than one because we're just going to have it park over there and hang out while it fills everything up. The next thing we're going to want is a refrigerator truck so that it can supply the meat. And that would be this one. There's only one that we have available for us right now. And so we're going to set this up. We want to do all this before we bring in citizens, otherwise it can be trouble. So we're going to, the customs house, you can basically buy anything. You can buy construction materials, you can buy, food, all sorts of things. You can even bring in workers and then eventually tourists and stuff like that. So we're going to start with the customs house and we're going to have it load food. And then we're going to go over to the loading dock, that loading station right here, and have it unload food. And we're going to have it wait until unloaded. That will make it so that the entire truck will be completely empty before it drives away to go pick up more food. And then we're going to start that. And then we're going to do the same thing with the refrigeration truck. Start at the customs house, load meat, it's the only option, and then go to the loading station and unload meat. Wait until unloaded. And then we can tell it to start. When we unpause, that'll start going. Now the other thing that we're going to build is a distribution office. Now these are free. This is a free building, but there is a paid version. One that you actually have to build with your own workers or resources, or you can buy foreign workers to build. There's one other thing that I need to put in before I forget. I need to get a gas station. And we're going to put that over here, close to the heart of everything. So that way everything is kind of on the way. And we're going to use a real normal gas station here. Put it on a gravel road. I should probably build that further away from the road, because sometimes a lot of stuff is going to come in here and it's going to jam that all up, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to build it back here a little further away. Connect that with the gravel road. Tell it to build that. Tell it to build that. And so we'll have a gas station. We'll have a fuel. All right, so now I need a couple of distribution offices. Now, the big ones that you can build that aren't free, you have to research. But you do get some free ones, and they hold 3 vehicles. And we're going to build 2 of them. This one is going to be... trying to think. I probably want to have a warehouse. But I'm going to go with simple right now and not bother. I want to get a couple of trucks. Actually, I want to get 1 truck in here is all I really need. And let's see how big the clothing storage is over here. This will help me size the truck. So I want to limit the amount. I want to have a lot more food than I need for clothes and electronics. And so we're gonna have the food coming in. We're gonna have the clothes coming in. The electronics. Oh, one of the things that we've got going on here is we can auto buy all this stuff. It is already set to auto buy. It's going to be a little cheaper if we bring it in ourselves. So we're going to set up the trucks, but I could just let this run and people would move in and everything would work just fine. But I'm going to bring the trucks in just the same and try to keep things stocked, with the trucks. So I need a truck that holds at least 1.2 tons or somewhere, I don't want it to hold all more than 1.2 tons. Because it's just going to be making too many trips. This is why sometimes it's advantageous to connect a warehouse to this thing. So let's go back over to our distribution office and find a truck that has a covered hull that is rather small. Organize this by capacity. This one holds 2 tons of clothes. That one looks like the right size. 0.63 tons of clothes. So that'll be about half that it'll fill up. And these other ones are a lot bigger. So we're going to go with, we'll do 2 of those. And then the other one, we're going to use to bring in fuel. And we're going to buy some oil tanks. And we're going to use the biggest one here. And we'll just buy one of those right now. Okay, so now everything is going to want to go get fueled. And there isn't going to be any fuel. So I need to go get the fuel. Oh, nope, never mind. There is going to be fuel. They're probably going to go out and run and find fuel at that gas station, or they may not. Maybe they will already have fuel in them. It's already auto-buying fuel, but once again, we're going to use trucks to take care of this. So we're going to assign a task. We want to stock up and load fuel here. And then we want to unload fuel at the gas station over here. Now we can do some math to figure out about how much this truck is going to fill up. We know 13 tons out of 70. Well, we want to be able to keep it full. I'm just going to ballpark it. 60% ought to do it. And then this over here, we're going to do the same thing. Have it load at the customs house, but we're going to have it load clothes and electronics. And then we're going to have that unload over here at the loading station. Clothes and electronics. And we're going to make that about 50%. So that way that should stay stocked without us having to go off and auto buy. We're going to change the auto buy amounts here. We're going to leave food on and meat. I'm not going to worry about the other stuff though. So clothes and electronics will run out of that because auto buy is turned off for that. But you'll see this little ruble sign or a dollar sign if you're buying it with dollars. Now there's no electricity. That's going to make things a little tricky. Let's turn on the foreign power connection. And this is pretty straightforward. You just click on this and you want it in import mode to buy electricity. And we're just going to turn this all the way up. It's going to be a little bit of a burst, but there's really not a whole lot of power draw going on here. It's basically just a refrigerator running. That's not good. Why isn't he going to the gas station? Oh, because I don't have any electricity. So something is awry. Because I thought I was buying electricity just now. I am buying electricity. My gas station is out of range of the... I don't have any electricity there, do I? Yep. Okay, so when I moved that, I picked up all this stuff, but this does not reach my gas station. So let me add one. Use a mud road. And I'm going to use just a really cheapy connection right there. Hopefully that won't bite me later, because it'll be in range with some of this stuff. Hopefully it won't draw too much electricity here. All right, so now you should have power. Did it not build that? Oh, you know what? I don't think I did tell it to actually build that with rubles, did I? Nope, I did not. If I hold down the shift, nope, control. It's really hard to catch these things sometimes. There we go. Barely got it. There, now it'll work. Okay, so now I have electricity, I have fuel, and my truck is like, oh, okay, great, I'll go get gas. There we go. And these trucks over here ought to be able to go get fuel too. Okay, so we still don't have any population. And we also don't have a bus. So let's get a bus running between these two places. Now the advantage when you're not playing realistic mode like I'm used to is you don't have to worry about which border you're buying from. The problem is I don't have any good buses over here. So you know what? We're going to go with rubles and find a bus. We want a pretty decent size one because we need to supply about 80 workers a shift. I don't know, the ZIL 150, let me see, total capacity. Yeah, that looks like the biggest one I can get. So we're going to get 2 of those to start off with. And we're going to set the align. We're going to go to the center of town. And then we're going to go to the edge of town. And we want to load, we don't want anything but workers. We don't want to unload there because we don't have to worry about return trips, remember? And then we're going to unload workers. And we'll start that off. And we'll copy that schedule to this bus. And we'll wait a little while for this one to get going before it starts. Probably just wait for it to refuel because we want to make sure these are spaced pretty adequately. Get it refueled. Okay, let's start it. And hopefully this will be spaced pretty well. There's a few ways we can space things out on lines. I will share that with you when it comes up. But right now we've got enough that we could actually invite citizens and start seeing things work. Oh, one more thing I have to do. I need to set up a line to... Let's see here. This warehouse I've got has 2 cargo spaces. Oh, and also I want to set what is stored here. I do not want all this stuff. I'm just going to go 0, 0, and I probably want like a 2-to-1 ratio here. So this is a little trick that I like to use. I'm going to use 2-to-1 on clothes, fabric to clothes. So that'll store a lot of fabric and a lot of clothes, which will make me a lot of money. But I need to set up a truck. Actually, I probably really need to set up another distribution office. Why don't we do that? Yeah, I could use a line, but I think distribution office would do a good job with this too. Yeah, we'll use a couple of distribution offices here. So I'm going to set up one here, and that one is going to bring in fabric. So I need a covered hull. We're going to use the same one here. That'll bring in 9.1 tons of fabric every trip it makes. We'll get a couple of these over here. Yeah, you know what? We're going to just do 3 of them. We're going to use all of these to do this thing here. All right, so I want to load fabric and unload clothes with these trucks. And I'm going to send it to that warehouse where I'm going to load clothes and unload fabric. And I want to have a reasonable amount of stuff there. I'm going to try to go 50% fabric. And, you know, you want a little bit of clothes there to pick up at least a full truckload. Calculating that is a little complicated because we don't have very much. If you don't have a lot. So I'm just going to go with, you know, like, let's just make sure there's 2%. No, you know what? I do need to calculate this. Let's see here. So our truck holds how many clothes? It holds 6.5 tons. 6.5 tons over 183 is about 3.5%. So I want to make sure that I have, let's just say 4% is what we're going to have till before it goes off and loads clothes. We've already got a lot of fabric going on in there. So we could actually get this thing started right now. We've got all the infrastructure running. We just need people. So let's get some. And the way you do that is you invite immigrants in, and you bring them in from the Soviet bloc. You get some nice, you know, healthy communists that come in from Russia or wherever. But if you get immigrants from the third world, you're going to have a harder time getting people to come in from like Western Europe or something like that. But this is going to bring them in from, you know, parts of the world where it's not already a communist place and it's not already part of, you know, the West, like Western Europe and the United States or something like that. You know, bring them in from China or from some other place. So we're going to bring, or Africa, who knows where, India, just some place that's not, you know, as industrialized. So we're not going to use those. Those guys usually come in, they're pretty unhealthy, and they might even be a little sick, but they're cheap. But these guys, we need them. Need a lot of nice Soviet bloc workers here. And they're going to complain about things that aren't working because nobody is working in them yet. But they're going to start working in the shops, and once they start selling, then they're going to go out and buy, which means that we can bring in more workers. So we'll fill up these buildings. And we should see things working pretty well. Now, I'm going to reduce the workers here. We don't need this much staff. 10 ought to do plenty. We need some fire trucks. I almost forgot to do that. Let's go with 3. Let's just do with 2 of those. That should be enough. And load this building up. Oh, and we need some ambulances. I almost forgot about that. Ambulances. That one ought to be good. We'll get a couple of those. And we're looking pretty good. 85% health, 85% happy. That's a nice start. And we don't probably need all of this over here going on just yet. That's kind of a lot, but we will need it eventually. And we can start with doing some research. And which one should we research first? Logistic optimization. This will help us get some distribution offices and stuff going on here, among other things down the line. And the school, okay, we've got a lot of kids. That's usually not how that goes. But we have a lot of children already. And the temperature in the building is too low, probably because we don't have anybody working in the heating plant just yet. Or at least not enough. Oh, we don't have any coal. Ha ha ha. I forgot to get coal. Let's get coal. That was the other thing I should have done right out of the gate, because in April and March it's still pretty cold. So let's go with a dumper. And we're going to get these babies. They hold a lot. This one is okay. It moves a lot faster, 70 kilometers per hour. But this one's slow, but we can have it hang out and just bring in a ton of coal all the time. And we're going to use a couple of these. So we're going to bring this in, load coal, and we're going to unload it here at the heating plant and wait until unloaded. And then we're going to start that and copy that to the other dumper. And we can start him too. And they're probably going to want to go refuel. It's usually what they end up doing. That's weird. Yeah, they're refueling. Which sadly I put that way over here. It'll work out fine later. Okay, so that should make things a little more comfortable over here in town. Hopefully I haven't had a bunch of people decide I don't want to live here. It doesn't look like it. And now there's a trick here. You know, we've got 871 population. The trick is to get this to be at a reasonable level, so that you have everything you need and you have enough people to supply it and work it, and you're not spread too thin. Okay, so another thing I want to do at this bus stop, I want people to go to the heating plant first, because if they don't go to the heating plant, everybody dies. If I don't prioritize this, then maybe they'll all go to the clothing plant, and then I won't have enough heat. I probably don't need full-on heat here. I can probably take that down to 15. I do want this to run as far, as much as it possibly can. So what I'm going to do is tell it I want to work at the heating plant and I want it to work at the clothing factory, but I really, really want them to prioritize going to the heating plant. So I'm going to make that a higher percentage. That way, if there's only 10 people on the bus, 8 of them end up going to the heating plant and 2 of them go to the clothing factory, instead of half and half, which might not provide enough heat if there's not enough people working at the heating plant. So that's the way I handle that problem. But so far, so good. And have we exported anything? No, not yet. I don't think we've made enough to export just yet. But we're making something. We just need to get more workers in. So let's do that. Fill up another one of these. Now, as they come in, they're going to end up having children. So you will get a birth rate that will increase your population over time. There's a whole lot of balancing that has to be done. Okay, so we're out of housing here. We need to build a couple more of these so that we can handle the overflow. We're going to try to see how this goes with 1,000 population. I don't know how many workers we've got. I just want to make sure I max out this one clothing factory as much as possible. I might need another bus. Yeah, I need another bus. That's a little bit of a far drive. And we want to maximize the amount of space. These bus stops only hold like 200, 250 people. So we're going to make it so it's not holding any students and it's not holding any passengers. These passengers, they want to go out of town and drink alcohol, which I don't have a pub, which will impact their happiness, but it'll also impact their health negatively. So we're not going to really provide for that at the moment. Maybe we will have enough. All right, so that's good. Now the idea is we want to... Okay, now that's at full employment. That's great. That's exactly what I want to see. It's pretty close anyway. Probably need a third bus going in there. In the next month, we'll be able to get a better idea of how our things are progressing. But for right now, I think I'm going to catch up on the chat because I know there's got to be a lot going on in there. Let's see how many people at the fire station. Okay, that's good. And we probably don't need as many people working here. You want to keep it so that the visitors and the staff are at a reasonable balance. We don't need quite as much staff as we've got here. We could probably take this down to... Yeah, let's do 7. Let's do 7. There we're doing pretty well. Probably got too cold and they needed treatment. That's working out well. that is full of children. Oh, I don't have enough teachers. That's what the problem is. Okay, so the way you solve that is you need more educated citizens. Eventually, this might get solved by this here. But I'm not really training that many people to be able to increase the education levels enough, especially since I don't have enough educated citizens. So what I need to do is bring in just experts, 5 immigrants from the Soviet bloc. Now, these cost at least twice as much, but we need them. We're going to bring them in, and we're going to actually tell them, we can specify where we want them to work. I want them to work at the university, the hospital, and the school, and about evenly. So this might leave some of them unemployed. Hopefully not, because I might have brought in too many of them. But it'll at least make sure that we always get our children educated and that we have lots of researchers. We could probably increase this a little bit, which will help get the unemployment down in that building. Since we have a little bit we can absorb. And that would help us at the same time by educating more people. We'll do that. That should probably take care of most of them. So anyway, things are functioning. And as the month goes on, we should be able to see some imports and exports hopefully at least balance out, if not come out ahead. So now I'm going to check up on the chat because I know I've got a million things going on here. Oh my. City Planner! I hope I didn't miss you. I hope you're still here. Let's see here. Where did I leave off? Okay. This game can be addictive, but it's so painfully slow. It's just not worth it for me. Yeah, it is a little slow. B-Ball Joe, if you're around, or if somebody knows what it is, I would really love to know how I can speed that up. I can't remember the keystroke. I've never used it. And I could probably get away with using it right now. Let me turn the terrain lines off. But yeah, it does move somewhat slow. But at the same time, I don't know. I really like this game. I can't help it. I can't stop playing it. I thought I hated it first. Viscosity is here. Welcome. Thanks for being here. And you're excited about this game. I am excited about this game. I'm excited to share it with you. I'm actually more excited about making videos, but I wanted to see how you guys felt about it on a live stream before I went and did a whole bunch of videos about it. At some point, I'm going to have to figure out how to do this without stopping the action so I can check the chat. Lime and Ale, great to see what you play. Workers and Resources, sure, I'll learn a lot. I hope you have so far. And the elf is saying, earlier start, you only have weaker vehicles and it can add some difficulty at the start of the game. Yes, yeah, your vehicles don't move as fast, but you also don't have to spend as much money on faster roads. So I don't know if it balances out or not, but it definitely is nicer to have bigger trucks and things like that. By the time you get into the 70s and 80s, it gets a lot better. Babatova is not City Skylines 1. This is Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. Check it out, and check out B-Ball Joe. He's got an awesome channel where he explains all this. TS Mindswept, thanks for coming. I'm glad you're here. Well, I already hit the like button. I suppose I can hit it again to be sure it worked out. No, don't do it. City Planner Plays. I'm so glad you're here, Phil. Thanks for coming. He hit it for me. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for hitting it for TS Mindswept. Yes, building the heating plant close has the disadvantage of having more pollution, but it has the advantage of not having to build any heat exchangers. As in, you don't have to build any as long as everything is within range of the heating plant, which is great. Let's scroll down in the chat a little more. The Soviet reunion. Yeah, you caught in there. Oh man. TS Mindswept. If you weren't from Ohio, I'd like to go on record and say I had no part in the highway destruction. Which highway destruction are we talking about? What did I miss? Did this thing actually start me an hour ago? I guess it did. I'm at the live point now. Oh, okay. Thank you for the super chat, Phil. Really appreciate it. I've been confused by this game. This is super helpful. I hope I've been useful. So nice of the game to let you connect to buildings straight to the past. Definitely no diagonal connections here. I'm not really sure what that's in reference to either, but there are some caveats with connections in this game for sure. Ever played Transport Fever from Fick? No, I have not. I have watched some videos on it. I am interested in that game. I have not grabbed it. He just has more focus than I am when I'm streaming. Yeah, I definitely have. I probably have too much focus. I have no concept of time sometimes when I get to working on something. I hope I explained things well. I hope if you had any questions, you have left them in the chat. I am not seeing much chat left. I mean, kind of the point of live streaming is the live interaction. If you're just going to play a game, then it's better for a video. This is all I could have asked for in a sleepless night. I was actually thinking this was a video pre-recorded. It's still kind of unsure if it is. No, I'm really here. Matthew K says, I love this game, a real gem of complexity. Happy to see you streaming it. Just started watching. We'll have to catch up on the whole stream later. Yeah. So let's see. We've gotten through a month and we have been importing. Ooh, that's a lot. But that was the month we started out, I think. We exported 16,000 rubles of stuff. So one of the things you have to remember is that, okay, so no, we're really stocking that fabric. We have a huge stockpile of fabric in here. I would never get away with this in a hard money start. But one of the things with this game is that it is really... You spend a lot of time front loading the thing at the beginning, and then you kind of have to see if it all pans out. But planning does really pay off, and a lot of experience pays off. So, you know, I wouldn't get too discouraged by it. And honestly, I would play on the lower difficulty levels. Like this here might have taken me a year or two to build in realistic mode. Don't start with realistic mode. vBaljo plays realistic mode. That's awesome. I love realistic mode. I do not think that it is a good idea to start playing on realistic mode because realistic mode is very realistic. It takes a lot of logistics to get started. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of planning. And if you mess something up, yeah, it's a long time to undo it. But if you're in this mode, you can afford a whole lot of messing up and you still got lots of money. You still got lots of, I mean, you could do realistic mode and, just turn, make it so that you have more money, which is probably a good way to start with realistic mode anyway. But one of the things that you want to keep in mind is that you just don't want to make this too much harder than it needs to be. Like, I really don't recommend turning on water. I don't recommend turning on waste. Those are really cool aspects of the game. I like those aspects of the game. I mean, especially more the waste management. I think that's actually more interesting to me than the water. But it is an extra challenge that you have to, take into account. And, but I mean, water can be more frustrating. Maintenance can be more frustrating. Having a lot of fires can be frustrating. I mean, you can turn fires off if you really want to, I think. And then you don't have to worry about fire protection. But, having the fire protection, does kind of make you think, oh, wait, should I expand into this area or not? Anyway, the thing is we've got a lot of stockpile going on here, and I'm not sure if I'm just getting more. Oh, I am, aren't I? Pretty sure that that dropped off more fabric. I'm going to reduce how much fabric this thing is bringing in because since I'm used to playing with trains. I started with trains. I've got trains going on my other thing, my other game right now, and it's kind of throwing me. I do not need 50% worth of fabric in here, do I? Nah, it's about equilibrium. I should just leave it alone. I probably could have gone with a way less. If this was trains, I probably would be fine. What I'm really having trouble with here is just keeping enough workers going in here. And it doesn't look like I'm doing a very good job of that. So I probably should start another bus. And I've got 12% unemployment. Let's see how many people are waiting here by the time the bus comes around. Because it might be more than, well, yeah, that is a lot more than, no, the bus is emptying? Oh, I don't know that they are. A lot of balance issues with this game. Let me get rid of this. So I've got 70 workers. I might just need to open up that other clothing factory sooner than I thought. So yeah, I only dropped off 8 workers. Yep. So let's build this other clothing factory because I definitely can support that now. Build the factory connection for it. And then I will have to add this to the priority list. Otherwise, nobody will go work there. And I need to reduce that some. I still kind of want to make sure that 80% of my people go. So, like, if 80% of my people get off the bus and a heating plant only has 1 slot for a worker, it doesn't need any more, well, then what happens is it takes that 1 worker and then everything else goes to whatever's left. So this basically just makes the heating plant top priority. Everything else still gets whatever workers are left over. As you can see, this was filling up, but it'll also fill up both of these. So this will be better. I shouldn't have any buses with any passengers on it, but I might be able to add 1 more bus to be able to keep these both at higher employment levels. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of close. I don't know if I have enough workers for that, honestly. But I should see my unemployment drop precipitously. And I should see my revenue go up a lot. Right now, I have imported 100,000 and I've exported 16,000. That's not good. So this is the balance with this game that you have to really strike, is you have to find a way to make more than you spend. When you bring in workers and you don't have people working in something that is profitable, then you have a problem, because they will still eat your food, they will still wear your clothes, they will still, and they don't pay for these things. They don't bring their own money. This is communism. This is not capitalism. So they are not expecting you to, oh, okay, I'm looking at the wrong line. I'm looking at April. So we're doing better than I thought, but we're still importing an awful lot. But the export is starting to come up a little bit. And it should go up a lot higher, a lot faster here now that we're bringing in clothes. We might even make it to break even. And that's great, especially with almost 3 million in the bank. 3 million rubles, that is. So are we bringing in foreign manpower? Oh, because we built things with foreign manpower. Okay. All right, I'm not feeling that weird about this. I think this is actually working really well already. We're just going to need a month that's clean without any auto builds or anything like that. Okay, so the other thing we're going to want to do is our buses can get spaced kind of funny. And this bus here, you might have seen it go down. It almost picked up somebody, but then it's like, no, I got to go the other way. Do you know why it did that? Is because it needs fuel. And so it's going to go refuel, and then it'll go back and get on the line. We don't want it to do that. We want it to find a better way to fuel, and we want to keep these lines spaced out well. So what I'm going to do on the edge of town here is I'm going to build an end station, and this is going to require another auto build. So I'm going to slow this down for a second here just so I have enough time to get this pulled off. So your depots, I need a bus end station. This is not the kind I want. I want a big one. And you can see that it's got an in and an out. That's great. I like that. And we're going to build that right here. We want these to be built with rubles. 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 Okay, so now we're going to have an end station. And we can supply it with fuel. So I'm going to go over here to my distribution office for fuel. And what I like to do with this too, just so I can identify it, is I'm going to call this the fuel distribution office. This is my consumer goods distribution office. Yeah, we'll just call it that. I like to abbreviate it cons goods. I go a little longhand, but it's all right. And this is our fabric and clothing. So let's call this clothing distribution office. Let's call it fabric. Well, you know what? Actually, I like to call this the import-export distribution office. We'll just call it that for now. And I don't need to worry about that. So now when I look at these, I can actually figure out what they are right away from looking at them. Oops, I don't need that. What I do need is to truck some fuel over here. And how much do I want to fill it up? 45 tons, and this thing holds 13. Yeah, 60% ought to do it. That'll work. And once that gets some fuel in it, now I can auto buy fuel and it'll automatically have it in here, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to bring it in manually. And what this will allow me to do, I'm coming over here. I like to name my lines too. So this has two buses that have exactly the same schedule, so it automatically creates a line. I can name that line and then it's considered a custom line. So we're going to call this Almavery. Actually, I'm going to abbreviate Almavery just so it's easier. Workers. And so I'll know what that's for. Because I might have one that goes between towns. Now I can use line spacing to space line out, but it's much better if I use the end station. So I like to have the end station. Okay, you know what? I'm going to do something else here too first. I'm going to rename. Whoops. I'm going to rename these bus stops too. I'm going to call this Almavery City Bus Stop. And I'm going to call this Almavery Factory Bus Stop. Almavery Factory Bus Stop. All right, so now I can tell the difference, and I click on one of these things here again. You can also get the lines over here, list of lines, and it'll have that list right there. I could rename these, probably will at some point. The Almavery City Bus Stop, Almavery Factory. Okay, so that's what I want. What I like to do is I like to put the end station first, and I probably put this on the wrong side of the road. This is going to cause a lot of left turns. I should have thought of that. This is bad planning. What am I thinking? All right, I'm going to put that there. I could leave that at the end, but I don't really want it at the end. And I want it to go right before I go to this stop, which is why I'm kicking myself for putting it on the wrong side of the road. I'm going to make it load workers, no tourists, no students, no passengers, and then unload workers. And I don't really have to uncheck all that, but I'm going to. And I want to take these stops out. Whoops. Now what this does is it makes it so that the bus goes straight to the end station, which means that they can refuel, and it makes it wait so that if I add another bus in here, because I can add another bus pretty easily, and it'll automatically keep it spaced. It'll respace everything out, which is pretty handy. And you always see that at the orange. So basically what this does is it unbunches, and hopefully I see buses. Yeah, there. You're going to see why I should have put this on the other side of the road. Duh. Real bonehead move. I think about this stuff every time I'm not on a live stream, which is why I need to make videos, right? But live streams are nice. Okay, so speaking of live streams are nice, let's see what's going on here in the chat. I can words cringe, Harold. Yes, you can. Matthew K. The lowest starting money is too little, in my opinion. You can't import as many immigrants as you really need and end up waiting years for your population to build. Yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings on that. I don't really have a problem with it. Sorry if you've already covered this earlier. Have you figured out the trash mechanics? I did a test playthrough with it enabled when it first came out and didn't get a satisfactory setup figured out. I do have some good setups for that, and I can show that in another thing here, but I just want to get this working a little more smoothly, and then I'll switch over to that. I really probably should run another bus. Nope, I don't know, maybe not. Because that seems to be working. Nope, I don't know, I probably should run another bus. Let's see what, oh yeah, I definitely need another bus. Because I think I've got a lot of idle workers hanging around. Now is that going to fill up both these factories? It takes a while for them to walk there. It is not. Okay, so let's get another bus going on here. We need to go to our road vehicles depot, which is weird to click on this map for some reason. Bus. And we want the ZIL 158. And we're going to assign it to, set it to a line, and they're all workers, and we're going to start it. And it's going to go to the bus end station. Actually, I probably might refuel first, but that's okay. The refueling station is on the way to the end station anyway. It'll go down to the end station, and the end station has an advantage too because it automatically refuels everything that's on that line. So that's handy. So hopefully this will get more employment happening. It should. Boy, I really can't believe I put that on the wrong side of the road. What was I thinking? Now, if we had a clean month. Oh, hey, look. We're exporting more than we're importing so far. But it's only 10 days into the month, so that could change. I could have a truck go pick up a load of electronics. That would be a lot of money right there. Although probably not that much because I'm not picking up that many electronics all at once, which is kind of nice. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll have a, oh, there we go. I don't know what that was, but somebody just picked up a bunch of something. It's probably fabric if I had to guess. Yeah. So he's going to go grab some fabric. But this guy might be bringing some clothes. Nope, he just got done bringing some fabric too. There are no clothes yet to pick up. Eventually there will be. Actually, hopefully a lot more frequently too, because yeah, okay, so that should get a pickup right there of clothes. Will he get assigned? No, he will not. Oh, that's a bummer. So sometimes it's nice to have a distribution. Okay, that one got assigned. It's sometimes nice to have a distribution office that's close to the source on both ends. The problem is that you end up burning some trips. You know, maybe if I only had one truck running that, I would be better off. I don't know. I could tweak that a little bit. But it is working, so we should be good. And let's see where we end up once that truck comes in. Should be good, I hope. We did import a vehicle, so that's why that's going to be a little negative. But yeah, look at that. That's pretty good right there. I'll take it. And is that picking up or... No. They just brought more fabric in. I'd say we're in a profitable position. This is a big deal. Now our population is going to grow. They're going to eat more. They're going to need more work to do. But at least we've got a baseline where we can springboard into more stuff. In a harder mode, you're going to have to go into debt in order to make this all work. But the cool thing is that, yes, yeah, I just picked up more fabric probably. The cool thing is that, you know, we've already got a baseline. We've got a town that's not even fully populated here, and we've already got enough workers going on over here to, well, no, we probably could get more workers in here and keep these staffed a little heavier, because these really aren't staffed fully, and you really want to max this out. I don't know if I need another bus. I probably need another bus, or maybe I need to just shorten the wait time over here. Let's just see what happens. So that guy is going to be fully loaded. He's going to run over there and unload. I have 7% unemployment too, which is not really making me feel good. See right there, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's going to slow things down. So this is why I want to, I think that it's a good idea to play with the the traffic being complex because I can do this and set these up as priorities. So that way that bus isn't going to just jump out in front of everybody now. And we're going to do that all along here, just to kind of simplify things. Yeah, you can't set up priorities right there. And I'm not going to do any foreign labor right now. Now, this is not probably the best urban planning. I can show you some details in my other city when I pull it up in a minute here. But we're going to have to wrap this up pretty soon. Any other questions anybody's got? I would really love to hear them. Any other comments? Any other things that you really wish you'd have explained? I would love to hear it. Hopefully this has been somewhat instructive. I know we spent a lot of time just building a bunch of stuff, and I explained a bunch of stuff, and I probably pontificated way too much, but oh, you know, the pub. I never did build the pub. They're really complaining about that. And they're also complaining about not being able to go to church. And if you can go all through here and not find a church that you can build, there's a reason for that. It's communism. We just aren't going to have a church. At least not to build. Unless you get a mod. You can get mods for churches. You can also play on a populated map and then have churches. I have not done any of that in this one. It does help some, but there are other ways you can make people happy and distract them from, you know, make them atheists, make them more atheist. Let's see here. So those are full every time they come through. And our unemployment is down to 6%. I would like to see it a little bit lower, seeing as we're not using anything for construction. This should help. So there's nothing, no one's waiting over here. How are we doing? We're not staffing that fully. I probably just need more workers and another bus. But either way, we are making more, I think, than we're spending. We're at least breaking even. And we could probably do just a little bit better than that. So the next step would be to make our own fabric. And to make our own fabric, what do we need? We can do this next. Fabric factory right here. 100 workers is what we need to make 5 tons of fabric. We need a little bit of chemicals. Chemicals are crazy expensive, and we need a whole lot of crops. Now, to move 20 tons of crops is a little taller order than moving the half a ton of chemicals and the 5 tons of fabric. You really need trains to do that very well. It's not easy. The other way you can do it, though, is you can just build, you can just build intelligently and put the fabric factory next to the farm where the crops are grown and harvested. And that's what I usually like to do. Co-location, I would call it. And what's great is if we build a farm, well, farms are expensive, but they're going to bring in a resource that we will have completely eliminated everything else in the supply chain if we grow our own crops, make our own fabric. The only thing that we will need to import is a half a ton of chemicals for every 20 tons of crops and 5 tons of fabric. That's pretty good. I like it. So that would be the next step if we want to make this profitable. So what do you guys think? Any questions? I do not see anything coming up in the chat. Maybe I didn't scroll down far enough. Nope, I did. All right. Well, I'm going to call it right there, I think. Unless somebody has anything they want to see. It's not looking like it. So, this is how you get something going. We didn't even use half the stuff that we planned. I mean, we've got several. We got at least 6. That's about 150 times 6. I'm not very good at this math. That's 300 times 3. That's about 900 more workers. Is that right? Yeah, I guess it is. So we've got enough room for 900 more workers. And we could do a whole lot with that. We could run that fabric factory for sure. We'd probably max these out first, though. We have not even really gotten into that. But this gives everything, it gives you a good start. And we're going to do this first person view here. Whoops. I mean, even on a gravel road, it is kind of cool to be able to do that. And you can kind of hear the gravel road noises. It's pretty cool. And then into the end station, which is the only thing that's paved. So yeah, it takes a little bit of work to get into, but once you start getting some of the basics, like figuring out how the logistics works, how to set that up, and the supply chains and all the other fun stuff, you know, there are some maps and stuff out there that show how the supply chains line up. I don't know how up to date they are. They've added a bunch of stuff with the waste management, and waste management is so much more complicated than in City Skylines. You've probably seen my video, More Money, Less Traffic, where I talk about City Skylines 1. I think it's about the same in City Skylines 2, but I could be a little wrong. They might have. I think they actually made this more sophisticated in City Skylines 2, but in the first one, you literally did not ever need to worry about incineration. You didn't have to worry about landfills. Just build a recycling plant and it'll take care of everything. It was pretty crazy. So, yeah. Okay, good. That one's going to go right away. All right. So basically in this game, recycling is really complex, which is actually something that if I remember right, I saw that the Soviets were actually really good at that. They didn't have to worry about externalized costs like in capitalism, where they're basically just trying to figure out a way to pass the buck onto you. In communism, they're like, hey, you know, we are creating all this waste. We need to minimize that and mitigate it. And so they did. And it was, at least from what I know, and I could be wrong, so please tell me if you have had some experience or knowledge or something that is beyond what I have, which is very limited. But it seems like it was a less wasteful society than what we have, at least in the States. I think just about any society on the planet is probably less wasteful than the United States, though. We created so much trash, it's disgusting here. And a lot of it is just so that people who are already rich can make lots more money. So anyway, yeah, it is what it is. But there's just so many aspects of this game that are really, I think that they really beat out the industrial simulation from City Skylines, because, you know, you actually make, things are actually somewhat logical, but it's also, it's just kind of fun to be able to move all this stuff around. And there's more than one ways to doing it. I don't have to use trucks for this. I can make a train, and I can bring in my fabric and load up that warehouse. And then once it's loaded full of clothes, I can send the train back with a whole bunch of clothes. It's really pretty cool that you can do that in this game. You don't have that in City Skylines, at least not so far. It looks like they may have some of those features sort of kind of baked into City Skylines 2, but they're not working completely very well right now. Hopefully that will change, because that would be really cool to be able to do that. I would really like that, especially in City Skylines, because, I don't want just communist city simulators. This is a really fun game, though. It's got a lot of depth. It's got a lot of complexity. It does take a little bit of learning curve, but like I said, Just go with those lower difficulty levels, and you should be able to see some cool stuff. Hopefully some people are still around, but if not, I will catch you guys on the replay. Enjoy. Have fun. Take care.